Chapter 1. Under the setting sun. The sky was filled with rays of light. Outside Wind Fire City on Emerald Cloud Peak there was a stone table. Beside the table there was a stone bench. A young man and a young woman were leaning against each other. The young man was thin, his face was slightly pale, and his face was delicate. The young woman was wearing a snow-white dress. Her skin was like jade, and her appearance was beautiful. The young woman's head leaned on the young man's shoulder. Under the light of the setting sun, they looked like a pair of immortal lovers. Yow, I really hope that we can be like this forever. The young man's face was full of happiness as he said softly, Brother Ming, of course we can. We said that we would be together forever. The young woman's face revealed a happy smile. The young man's name was Lu Ming, and the young woman's name was Lu Yao. Looking at the smile on Lu Yao's face, Lu Ming's eyes became even gentler. He held Lu Yao's soft and jade-like hand and said, Yao, although my meridians are blocked and I can't condense qi, as long as I can awaken my bloodline, the Elder Hall will buy spiritual herbs to unblock my meridians. Then I can cultivate. I will definitely become a martial arts expert and protect you for the rest of your life. Thank you, Brother Ming. Lu Yao's eyes revealed a touched expression as she said, Brother Ming, there was really a person who took your pulse. Did you inherit your father's bloodline? Yes, Yao. So in the future, your man will definitely be an expert. Lu Ming's face revealed a confident smile. Lu Yao smiled and picked up the wine cup on the stone table. In the wine cup was the famous blood-tongue orchid wine, emitting a faint fragrance. Lu Yao kissed Lu Ming's face at lightning speed. Her face blushed as she picked up the wine cup and said, Brother Ming, come, Yao will reward you. Lu Ming took the wine cup and said, Yao, you treat me to a cup of blood-tongue orchid wine every day. I am really grateful to have you by my side. After saying that, he picked up the wine cup and drank it. The fragrance of the wine lingered on the tip of his tongue. Lu Ming's heart was as sweet as the wine, but in the next moment he felt that the world was spinning. Yao, why do I feel a little dizzy? This wine of yours. Lu Ming leaned on the stone table and glanced at Lu Yao, but at this moment he discovered that Lu Yao's expression was somewhat cold. Ha ha ha, Lu Ming. Yao, accompanied you for 3 years to nurture your bloodline. Now that the time has come, why don't you contribute your bloodline? At this moment, a middle-aged man appeared from the side. It was Lu Yao's father. Rumble. It was like a bolt from the blue, exploding in Lu Ming's mind. Yaoer. Lu Ming looked at Lu Yao in disbelief, but Lu Yao's eyes were cold and indifferent. Why? I love you so much. Lu Yao's cold gaze was like a sharp knife stabbing into Lu Ming's heart. He roared loudly and pounced towards Lu Yao, but Lu Yao only took a slight step back and he fell to the ground. Duanmu Lin of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect started cultivating at the age of 6. In half a year, he opened 2 divine meridians and entered the martial soldier realm. At the age of 9, he entered the martial master realm. Now he's 16 years old, and he's one of the 4 geniuses of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect. What about you? You're weak and sickly, and your meridians are blocked. To put it bluntly, you're just a piece of trash. Even if you awaken your bloodline, you're still trash. How can you compare to Duanmu Lin? Such a genius is a good match for me. If I want to marry him, I must awaken a powerful bloodline. Since you love me so much, why don't you fulfill my wish and use your bloodline to help me awaken a more powerful bloodline? A cold voice came from Lu Yao. Bang! At this moment, the middle-aged man stepped on Lu Ming's back. A sharp knife appeared in his hand. He shouted, Lu Ming, contribute your bloodline. A piercing pain instantly drowned Lu Ming's spine. Lu Ming screamed, his voice filled with loneliness, helplessness, and despair. Gradually, Lu Ming fell into endless darkness. Lu Yao, I love you so much. Why do you want to harm me? Lu Ming bellowed and sat up on the bed suddenly. The bed, made of namu wood, creaked as he sat on it. Lu Ming was sweating profusely. It was all a dream. No, that was not a dream. How could all of this be a dream? That was a fact that happened 3 days ago. Lu Ming was the successor of the Lu family's main branch of the Lu family. His father was the patriarch of the Lu family. Lu Yao was the daughter of the grand elder of the first branch of the Lu family. The two of them were from different branches of the Lu family. They grew up together and were childhood sweethearts. It could be said that they were inseparable. In private, they had even pledged their eternal love to each other. Lu Ming would never have thought that Lu Yao and the grand elder would attack him and steal his bloodline. Strength. It's all because I'm not strong enough. If I had extraordinary talent and strength, they wouldn't have dared to do this to me. Lu Ming clenched his fists. His body trembled and his eyes were bloodshot. Trash. This was what Lu Yao called him. Lu Yao's words from 3 days ago were still echoing in his ears. Creak. At this moment, the door was pushed open and a frail, middle-aged woman walked in. Looking at Lu Ming on the bed, she asked with concern, Ming, did you have a nightmare again? This beautiful woman was Lu Ming's mother, Li Ping. 3 days ago, Li Ping was worried about Lu Ming's safety. She went out to look for him and saved Lu Ming. Otherwise, Lu Ming would have been dead. Ever since Lu Ming's father was killed while traveling outside 6 years ago, he and Li Ping had been depending on each other for survival. Lu Ming looked at Li Ping. His eyes softened and said, Mother, it's okay. It was just a dream. Looking at Lu Ming's pale face, Li Ping sat by Lu Ming's bedside. She touched Lu Ming's forehead and said with heartache, It has been 3 days. You keep shouting that Lu Yao is harming you. Ming'er, what is going on? Is your injury because of Lu Yao? Lu Ming said, Mother, it's nothing. You heard wrong. Lu Ming didn't tell Li Ping that it was Lu Yao and the great elder who did it, because Li Ping didn't practice martial arts. Telling her would only harm her. Li Ping hesitated for a moment and said, Ming-er, in the future, you can't call Lu Yao by her name in front of others. 2 days ago, Lu Yao awakened her 5th grade bloodline and opened a divine grade meridian. Now, she has received the recognition of the Elder Hall. In 2 months, she will take charge of the Lu family and become the head of the Lu family. If you call the head of the Lu family by her name, it will be disrespectful. What? Lu Yao wants to take charge of the Lu family? Don't even think about it. Lu Ming let out a low roar. His eyes were bloodshot and his teeth were clenched so hard that they were about to break. Blood was flowing out. Lu Ming's father was rumored to have been killed 6 years ago. In these 6 years, the Lu family had been under the management of the Elder Hall. There was no new head of the Lu family. Seeing Lu Ming in such a state, Li Ping was scared out of her wits. She could only hug Lu Ming's head and cry. She said, Ming-er, don't scare Mother. Mother has already lost your father. I can't lose you too. Father, where are you? Ming-er believes that you won't die. Ming-er is powerless now. I can't even keep my position as the head of the Lu family. Lu Ming held a pendant around his neck tightly. Because he was using too much strength, his nails dug into his flesh and blood kept flowing out. This pendant was made of bronze and was the size of a broad bean. Before Lu Ming's father died, he asked someone to send it back. In these 6 years, Lu Ming had been carrying it with him. Blood seeped out of his palm and flowed towards the bronze pendant. Buzz! Suddenly, the bronze pendant trembled slightly and became boiling hot. Before Lu Ming could react, the bronze pendant trembled and turned into powder. It drilled into Lu Ming's palm and disappeared. Then Lu Ming felt a boiling hot energy flowing from his palm and up his arm. After a while, it stopped at the Yintang acupoint between his eyebrows. 9 dragons don't die, bloodline rebirth. Suddenly a loud roar sounded in Lu Ming's mind, shaking Lu Ming's mind. 9 dragons don't die, bloodline rebirth. 9 dragons don't die. Bloodline rebirth. The continuous roar sounded in Lu Ming's mind. Then, a burning hot energy came from between his eyebrows and rushed to Lu Ming's spine. In the next moment, the roar disappeared, but there was a numbing itch on his spine. His whole body became boiling hot. What's going on? Lu Ming was completely confused. At this moment, the numbing itch on his spine became more intense, as if something was slowly growing. Ming, or what's wrong? Don't scare me. Feeling the abnormality in Lu Ming's body, Li Ping was even more afraid and was at a loss. Bloodline rebirth? Can I really be reborn? Lu Ming was puzzled. According to ancient records, only a very small number of people were able to regenerate their bloodline after their bloodline was taken away or damaged due to other reasons. However, most of the reborn bloodlines were of low levels and were not very useful. But there were also a few people who could rise from the ashes and be reborn. They rose from the ashes, transcended the past, and awakened the strongest bloodline. However, the probability was so small that it was negligible. According to the ancient records, there were only a few cases since ancient times. Lu Ming did not think about transcending the past and awakening the strongest bloodline. After all, the probability was too small. As long as he could awaken the bloodline, he would be very happy. With the bloodline, he would be able to cultivate martial arts and change his destiny. At this moment, the strange feeling on his body slowly disappeared. Lu Ming smiled and said, "Mother, I'm fine." "What are you doing?" "This is the main residence. You can't barge in." Suddenly, a delicate voice came from outside. Lu Ming could tell that it was the voice of Li Ping's personal maid, Autumn Moon. "Slap! Get out of my way!" A cold shout was followed by the sound of a slap. Then a young man with a gloomy face walked in. "Madam, young master." A 16-year-old girl followed in. Her face was red and swollen, and there was a palm print on it. It was Autumn Moon. "Lu Chuan, it's you? What do you want?" Lu Ming stood up and shouted coldly. The person who came was Lu Chuan, Lu Yao's eldest brother. He was older than Lu Yao by 3 years and was 16 years old. When Lu Chuan saw Lu Ming, a look of surprise flashed across his eyes. He seemed to be surprised that Lu Ming was still alive. Then he sneered, "Lu Ming, it's good that you're here. My sister Lu Yao will be in charge of the Lu family and move into the main residence. Therefore, you no longer have the right to stay in the main residence. Move out quickly." Li Ping's face turned pale. Although she knew that this day would come, she did not expect it to come so soon. Li Ping smiled sadly and said, "Lu Chuan Ming is injured. After 2 days, when Ming recovers, we will move out." 2 days? You want to move out today. Do you think I don't know that you want to stay here? Lu Chuan sneered. Today? But Ming is injured. It's already so late. Let Ming rest for a night before moving out. Li Ping implored. Chapter 2. Lu Chuan put his hands behind his back and looked at Lu Ming with disdain. "But Ming..." Li Ping wanted to say something, but was interrupted by Lu Ming. "Mother, we don't have to beg him. Let's move," Lu Ming said. "But Ming... your injuries haven't healed yet. What if you catch a cold at night?" Li Ping said with concern. Lu Ming shook his head stubbornly and said, "Mother, I'm fine. Let's move. But sooner or later we will move back. The main residence is the place where you and father got married. No one can take it away." "All right then." Li Ping sighed and asked Chiu Yu to pack up. Lu Chuan put his hands behind his back and looked around with a cold smile. Suddenly his eyes lit up. "Wait a minute. You can't take this sword away." Lu Chuan walked towards Li Ping, who was holding a sword in her hand. Li Ping's face turned pale. She subconsciously held the sword tightly and begged, "This sword is the only keepsake left behind by Ming-er's father. It's for Ming-er in the future. You can't take it away. Since it was left behind by the previous patriarch, you can't take it away." It's the public property of the Lu family. You have to confiscate it. Moreover, Lu Ming can't even cultivate true qi. What's the point of keeping this sword? Is it a waste? Lu Chuan shouted coldly. His eyes were burning. He could tell that the sword was extraordinary. It was a spiritual weapon. No, Lu Chuan, I beg you. Li Ping hugged the sword and couldn't bear to let it go. Lu Chuan's eyes turned cold and he shouted, You refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Lu Chuan, a loud roar. Lu Ming's eyes were red. He clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles cracked. Lu Chuan, you can take the sword. But remember, sooner or later, I will take back what belongs to me. I will take it back 10 times, no, 100 times. Lu Ming's eyes were extremely cold as he stared at Lu Chuan. Being stared at by Lu Ming, Lu Chuan felt a chill run down his spine. But soon after, he sneered and said, Lu Ming, you think you're trash who can't even awaken your bloodline? You want me to pay you back 10-fold, 100-fold? Haha, I'll be waiting. For the past 3 years, Lu Yao had been putting Yama pollen in Lu Ming's wine every single day. Thus, 3 days ago, when Lu Ming failed to awaken his bloodline in front of everyone, Lu Yao and the Grand Elder took the opportunity to strike. Mother, give it to him, Lu Ming said, seemingly infected by Lu Ming's resolute gaze. Li Ping reluctantly gave the sword to him. After packing up, Li Ping helped Lu Ming out of the main gate of the Lu family main residence. Lu Ming looked back at the main residence of the Lu family. One day I will return. There was a small courtyard in the east wing that was originally the servants' living quarters. There were 3 rooms and a small courtyard. At this time, Lu Ming and the other 2 moved in. Late at night, the cold pierced through the bones. Lu Ming sat in the courtyard, his fists tightly clenched together. Strength, in this world, strength decides everything. It's because I don't have the strength that Lu Yao and the Grand Elder dug out my bloodline. It's also because I don't have the strength that I couldn't even protect the main residence and the sword left behind by father. In this world, without strength, one can only suffer humiliation without any way to resist. Now, I can feel that my bloodline is slowly being reborn. Even if the reborn bloodline is of a lower grade, as long as I work 10 times, 100 times harder than others, I believe that I won't be worse than others. One day, I will be able to control my own fate and protect my family. Footsteps sounded behind him. Li Ping took out a long robe and put it on Lu Ming, saying, Ming-er, it's cold outside. The room has been tidied up. Quickly go in and rest. Mother, you should rest early too. Lu Ming smiled. After returning to the room and sitting on the bed, Lu Ming still couldn't fall asleep. My bloodline, when will it be completely reborn and grow out? Lu Ming thought to himself, then sank his consciousness into his spine. He wanted to feel the condition of the ungrown bloodline. At this time, there was a tingling sensation in his spine. A hazy red light flashed, and in the red light there was a finger-sized, worm-like figure. However, it was somewhat illusory and unreal. My bloodline hasn't completely grown out, but it can appear? Lu Ming was a little surprised. Normally, it would only appear when the bloodline was completely awakened. Since it can appear, let's see if it can be cultivated like a normal bloodline. Thinking of this, Lu Ming began to use the basic cultivation method that everyone in the Lu family knew, qi gathering skill. Immediately, the spiritual energy in the air gathered towards Lu Ming's body. This speed of absorbing spiritual energy is comparable to a second-grade bloodline. Feeling the concentration of spiritual energy around him, Lu Ming was overjoyed. In the divine wilderness, martial artists were divided into ordinary martial artists and bloodline martial artists. However, ordinary martial artists and bloodline martial artists couldn't be compared at all. When bloodline martial artists awaken their bloodline, not only would their combat strength increase, their cultivation speed would also be incomparable to ordinary martial artists. However, bloodline martial artists were extremely rare. Out of dozens of people, there might not even be one who awakened their bloodline. Now, Lu Ming's bloodline hadn't completely grown out, but the speed of absorbing spiritual energy was comparable to that of a second-grade bloodline. What would happen if it was completely grown out? What kind of effect would it have? Lu Ming's heart was filled with anticipation. Spiritual energy constantly gathered and was absorbed by Lu Ming, seeping into his body. 2 hours later, Lu Ming opened his eyes. After 2 hours of cultivation, he felt that his injuries were slightly better. His originally weak and sickly body had also improved slightly. At this rate, my injuries will be healed in a few days. My body will also slowly improve. At that time, my cultivation speed will also increase. Lu Ming pondered and couldn't help but reach out to touch his neck. There was only a silk thread on his neck, and the bronze pendant was gone. My bloodline rebirth should be related to the bronze pendant. Now that the bronze pendant has run to my glabella, I wonder what effect it has. Lu Ming thought and sank his consciousness into his glabella, trying to sense it. Just as his consciousness sank into the space between his eyebrows, halos began to emit from there. Then the halos turned into a vortex. The vortex continued to expand and enveloped Lu Ming's entire body. In the next moment, the world spun and Lu Ming found himself in another place. Lu Ming was taken aback. He quickly looked around. At this moment, he was standing on a flat stone platform. The stone platform was about 10 meters long and wide. The 3 directions of the stone platform were chaotic. In one direction, there was a row of stone stairs. The stone stairs slanted upwards, with a total of 99 steps. After the 99 steps, there was another platform. Beyond the platform, there was another row of stone stairs. One after another, he didn't know how many there were. At the top of the stone stairs and platform, there was a palace. Because it was too far away, Lu Ming couldn't see clearly. He could only vaguely see that the door of the palace seemed to be open. In the haze, there seemed to be a figure sitting cross-legged there. The sound of chanting came from the palace. When the chanting entered his ears, Lu Ming felt his mind relax. All of his worries seemed to have disappeared. His body and mind were empty, and his mind was extremely clear. What's going on? Why am I here? Where is this? Hey, there's a stone tablet and a black iron box. On one side of the platform, there was only a stone tablet and a box. On the stone tablet, there were 4 words, Temple of Paragon. Other than these 4 words, there was nothing else. Then Lu Ming looked at the black iron box. The box wasn't big. It was less than half a meter wide and 1 meter long. Lu Ming opened the box and discovered that there were 3 books and a jade bottle inside. On the jade bottle, there were 3 words, Marrow Cleansing Pill. Marrow Cleansing Pill? It's actually the Marrow Cleansing Pill? Lu Ming was ecstatic. He quickly opened the lid of the jade bottle. Suddenly, a strong medicinal fragrance assailed his nose. In the jade bottle, there was a fiery red pill. It was the size of a fingertip and crystal clear. The marrow cleansing pill was said to be able to cleanse one's marrow, allowing one to be reborn and greatly enhance a martial artist's physique. This was a rare pill. In the thousands of years of Firestorm City, it had only appeared a few times. With the marrow cleansing pill, wouldn't my weak and sickly body and blocked meridians be greatly improved? Lu Ming's heart was burning with passion and excitement. Taking a deep breath, he closed the lid of the jade bottle and carefully put it aside. Then he picked up the 3 books and read them. These were 3 cultivation techniques and martial arts techniques. Art of the Battling Dragon, Flame Dragon Fist, and Dragon Snake Step. Lu Ming first opened the Art of the Battling Dragon. Art of the Battling Dragon was a god-level cultivation technique. When cultivated to the peak, one would have the power of a battle dragon. One's combat power would be unparalleled. God-level cultivation technique. Lu Ming's eyes widened and his breathing became heavy. Cultivation techniques and martial arts techniques were generally divided into 5 levels: heaven, earth, black, yellow, and unrated. Each level was further divided into 2 grades. Heaven was the highest grade, unrated. As the name implied, it was the lowest grade, unrated. But above the heaven level cultivation techniques, there was another level, God level. But God level was only a legend. Lu Ming had never heard of anyone possessing a God level cultivation technique or martial arts technique. As far as he knew, the highest cultivation technique in the Lu family was only a yellow level upper grade cultivation technique. But now there was a God level cultivation technique in front of Lu Ming. How could Lu Ming not be shocked? How could he not be excited? Unfortunately, this art of the battling dragon only had the first level of the cultivation technique. It could only be cultivated up to the meridian opening realm. The next realm required the second level of the cultivation technique. The second level of the cultivation technique was on the second platform after the 99 steps. There was also a box there. Lu Ming flipped through the pages. When he reached the last page, he found a line of words. To cultivate the second level of the art of the battling dragon, you need to open 3 divine meridians. If you force yourself to cultivate the second level without opening 3 divine meridians, your meridians will explode and you will die. Lu Ming gasped a breath of cold air. The requirements for cultivation were too high. A martial artist's cultivation was divided into meridian opening, martial warrior, martial master, martial grandmaster, martial ancestor, martial king. The meridian opening realm was the foundation of a martial artist's cultivation. It was also the easiest. The human body had 9 meridians and 81 acupoints. The first 3 were called human meridians, the middle 3 were called earth meridians, and the last 3 were called heaven meridians. As long as a martial artist opened the heaven, earth, and human meridians, they could break through to the next realm, the martial warrior realm, and become a true martial artist. However, above the 9 meridians, there were 3 more meridians called divine meridians. However, those who could open the divine meridians were too few. Lu Yao had only opened 1 divine meridian, and it had alarmed the entire Fenghua city. Furthermore, the elder courtyard had directly decided to let her take over the Lu family. For the divine level cultivation technique, I must open 3 divine meridians. Lu Ming clenched his fist and continued to read the other 2 manuals. As for the other 2 manuals, one was a fist art, a low-grade yellow-level martial skill. The other was a movement art, also a low-grade yellow-level martial skill. Although they were both low-grade yellow-level martial skills, even the Lu family did not have many of them. After putting down the manuals, Lu Ming picked up the marrow cleansing pill. He opened the bottle and swallowed the marrow cleansing pill in 1 gulp. The strong medicinal power dissolved in his body and seeped into Lu Ming's muscles, bones, and organs. It began to improve Lu Ming's physique. Lu Ming could even hear the sound of his bones vibrating and his muscles squirming. His whole body was burning hot, and traces of black impurities were expelled from his body. Chapter 3. By the time the marrow cleansing pill was completely refined, it was already noon the next day. Lu Ming didn't sleep the whole night, but he wasn't sleepy at all. Instead, he felt refreshed and full of energy. The marrow cleansing pill had completely transformed him. His body was stronger than an ordinary young man, and his meridians were no longer blocked. They were full of tenacity and vitality. However, there were layers of thick filth on his body. They were all excreted impurities. It was sticky and very uncomfortable. With a thought, Lu Ming returned to his room. He tiptoed out of the room and found that Li Ping and Qiu Autumn Moon weren't there. They must have gone out to buy groceries. Lu Ming went to the well in the courtyard and drew water from the well to wash away the filth on his body. He changed into a clean set of clothes and instantly felt refreshed and comfortable. At this time, Li Ping and Qiu Autumn Moon came back from outside. When they saw Lu Ming, they stared at Lu Ming in surprise. Now Lu Ming was full of energy. He was far from his weak and sickly image. No wonder the two were surprised. Ming, are your injuries better? Li Ping carefully looked at Lu Ming and asked, Yes, young master. You seem to be a little different from before. Chiao Autumn also blinked her big eyes and asked. Lu Ming smiled and said, Mother, I don't know why, but after I was injured this time, I cultivated qi gathering technique last night and actually cultivated a strand of qi. That's why my body is a little better. What, Ming, you cultivated qi? Hearing this, Li Ping was ecstatic. Tears welled up in her eyes. She was happy. Lu Ming didn't tell Li Ping about the Temple of Paragon. There was a divine level cultivation technique inside. If it was spread out, the three of them would be in big trouble. However, he swallowed the marrow-cleansing pill and his body changed. If he didn't explain it, Li Ping and the others would inevitably find it strange. That was why he revealed that he had cultivated true qi. Ming, that's great, that's great. Li Ping's eyes were brimming with tears. Although he had only cultivated genuine qi and could not even be considered an ordinary martial artist, let alone a blood meridian martial artist, she was still very happy for Lu Ming. Young master, then you have to protect Madam and me in the future. Autumn Moon smiled happily. After that, Li Ping and Autumn Moon started to cook. Soon, the aroma of the food filled their nostrils. The three of them happily sat together to eat. The dishes were simple, 1 meat dish and 2 vegetables dish. Ming, your injuries haven't healed yet. Eat more meat to replenish your qi and blood. Li Ping kept putting meat into Lu Ming's bowl. Mom, Mid-Autumn Moon, you should eat too, Lu Ming said. Ever since news of Lu Ming's father, Lu Yintian's death, the lives of the mother and son in these 6 years had been getting worse and worse. The allowance given by the clan had also decreased, and they rarely had meat to eat. Even if there was occasionally meat, Li Ping and Autumn Moon would give it to Lu Ming. As for Autumn Moon, she was still growing and her nutrition couldn't keep up. She was a little thin and weak. A martial artist's cultivation required a large amount of energy, so they were more particular about what they ate. The martial artists in the Lu family who had awakened their bloodlines didn't eat ordinary beast meat, but demonic beast meat. Even those who were more talented would not only consume demonic beast meat, but also demonic beast blood, bone powder, and various precious medicinal ingredients to refine dragon tiger pills. Dragon tiger pills contained strong spiritual essence. Not only could it strengthen a martial artist's muscles, bones, meridians, and organs, it could even be converted into genuine qi to aid in cultivation. Eating like Lu Ming did, the nutrition was far from enough. Ming, you've already cultivated genuine qi. Eating these dishes is far from enough. Mother has 8 dragon tiger pills here. Take them and cultivate. Li Ping carefully took out a bottle and handed it to Lu Ming. Lu Ming was stunned. He didn't expect Li Ping to take out 8 dragon tiger pills. Puzzled, he asked, Mother, dragon tiger pills cost 100 taels of silver each. Where did you get that much money? Mother naturally has her ways. Originally, I wanted to buy them for you to strengthen your body. Since you can cultivate genuine qi, you can use them. Li Ping smiled. Young master, Madam sold the Dragon Phoenix bracelet to buy these 8 dragon tiger pills. Autumn Moon couldn't bear to watch any longer and added, Autumn Moon. Li Ping called out softly, as if blaming Autumn Moon for talking too much. She said, Ming, don't worry and cultivate. As long as you can cultivate genuine qi and strengthen your body. What is a Dragon Phoenix bracelet? Mother, Lu Ming's nose was a little sour. His hands tightly gripped the bottle of Dragon Tiger pills. The Dragon Phoenix bracelet was a love token that Lu Yuntian had given to Li Ping in the past. Lu Ming knew how much Li Ping valued the Dragon Phoenix bracelet. However, for the sake of Lu Ming's health, Li Ping had sold the Dragon Phoenix bracelet. Mother, don't worry. I will definitely become strong, and use my strength to protect you. I won't let you suffer any more grievances." Lu Ming swore in his heart. His gaze was incomparably resolute. After the meal, Lu Ming took the dragon tiger pills and returned to his room. He entered the Temple of Paragon. Once he entered the Temple of Paragon, Lu Ming's gaze landed on the second platform above the 99 steps, because there was also a box on the second platform, and it was bronze in color. In the first black metal box, there was the first level of true dragon arts, flame dragon fists, dragon snake steps, and marrow cleansing pills. What was in the second box? Lu Ming was incomparably curious. He walked towards the stairs. But when he reached the 99th step, he wanted to go to the second platform, but he couldn't. There was an invisible force blocking him. Is it because my cultivation is not enough? Lu Ming was helpless. He could only retreat. Then he sat down cross-legged and poured out a dragon tiger pill. He swallowed it and began to cultivate. When Lu Ming swallowed the dragon tiger pill, his spine suddenly heated up. A strong suction force was produced, absorbing all the medicinal energy of the dragon tiger pill. Then, a pure energy surged out from his spine. So fast! Lu Ming was shocked at first, but then he was ecstatic. An average person would need at least a day to refine a single dragon tiger pill. However, he was able to refine it in an instant. It was because of the bloodline that hadn't yet grown. This bloodline that hadn't yet grown was really amazing. Not only did it absorb heaven, earth, Ling Qi at the same speed as a rank 2 bloodline, but it also had the effect of refining pills quickly. Okay, now I'll start to break through the meridians. Then Lu Ming calmed his mind and started to circulate the true dragon battle art, breaking through the first of the 3 meridians. The rolling energy was controlled by Lu Ming and rushed towards the first meridian. Boom! Boom! Rumbling sounds seemed to resound in his body. One by one, the meridians were broken through. When the energy was insufficient, Lu Ming swallowed another dragon tiger pill. Just like that, when evening came, all 8 dragon tiger pills had been consumed. Lu Ming also used the 8 dragon tiger pills to successfully break through 3 meridians. The meridian opening realm was divided into the early, middle, and late stages. Breaking through 1 to 3 meridians was the early stage of the meridian opening realm. Breaking through 4 to 6 meridians was the middle stage. The meridian opening realm was the foundation of a martial artist. It was also the easiest. Of course, the ease varied from person to person. An ordinary bloodline martial artist would definitely be able to break through all 9 meridians within a month to a year. But an ordinary martial artist might not be able to break through all 9 meridians. Some might not even be able to break through all 9 meridians in their lifetime. But someone like Lu Ming, who broke through 3 meridians in one afternoon, was extremely rare. If this news were to spread, it would definitely shock everyone. This was inseparable from the true dragon battle art and the unique nature of the immature bloodline. The true dragon battle art was a divine level cultivation technique. The immature bloodline could even refine pills in an instant, which was why it was able to create such a miracle. Feeling the true dragon battle chi circulating in the 3 meridians in his body, Lu Ming was filled with joy and fighting spirit. After dinner, Lu Ming hurriedly entered the Temple of Paragon and began to cultivate. Now he planned to cultivate the martial technique, flame, dragon fist. Martial techniques use true qi to move the muscles and bones of the body to attack. Different martial techniques, the circulation of true qi, and the movement of the muscles and bones were all different. Therefore, the effects of martial techniques were different. The moves created were also different, and the power was also very different. Therefore, the control of one's true qi and the control of one's body was very demanding. Without years of hard work, it would be very difficult to master a martial skill to its peak. The higher the level of the martial technique, the more difficult it was to control true qi. The more complicated it was, the more powerful it was. Lu Ming got into a stance and began to cultivate. Above him, the chanting of scriptures kept coming out from the palace, making Lu Ming's mind extremely clear. Some of the secrets of Flame Dragon Fist kept flashing in his mind. True qi circulated and flowed into his feet, then moved the bones and muscles of his feet. "Ha!" Lu Ming shouted and took a step forward. Power flowed from his feet to his spine. His spine twisted like a dragon, and an even more powerful force flowed from his waist to his hands. Boom! Lu Ming threw a punch. His power erupted, causing the air to vibrate and explode. Beginner's insight. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with surprise. The cultivation of martial techniques was divided into 6 levels according to the level of mastery. First glimpse at the door, minor accomplishment, mastery through a comprehensive study, perfection, unity of man and martial arts. 6 levels, 1 step at a time. It was very difficult to achieve it overnight. The higher the level of the martial technique, the harder it was to improve. Lu Ming did not expect that he would be able to reach the first level, beginner's insight, the first time he started cultivating Flame Dragon Fist. This was a low-grade yellow, rank martial technique. If it was an ordinary person, it would be difficult to reach the beginner's insight without a few months of time. The chanting of scriptures in the palace is very helpful to my cultivation. Lu Ming looked at the palace at the end of the stairs and thought. Lu Ming speculated that the reason why he could cultivate so quickly was because of the chanting of scriptures. Also, his own perception was probably not weak. Since it had such an effect, Lu Ming naturally cultivated even harder. Without the dragon tiger pills, Lu Ming's speed of opening meridians was greatly reduced. But after 3 days, he still managed to open the 4th meridian and entered the middle stage of the meridian opening realm. And the Flame Dragon Fist had even cultivated it to the 2nd level, which was a small success. But after 3 days, the blood vessels still did not grow. It was still in the slow process of growth. With a smile, Lu Ming left the Temple of Paragon and walked out of the room. The moment he walked out of the room, he saw Chiu Moon returning with red eyes. "Young master, please call Madam back. She has been kneeling in front of the Li family for a few hours." Chiu Moon said with a sobbing tone. What happened? Let's go." Lu Ming hurriedly walked out with Chiu Moon. On the way, Chiu Moon told Lu Ming about the situation. Ever since Li Ping knew that Lu Ming could cultivate true qi, she was very happy. However, one needed cultivation methods and martial techniques to cultivate martial arts. Therefore, Li Ping thought of the Lu family's library and wanted to borrow a few cultivation methods and martial techniques for Lu Ming. However, the guardian elder of the Lu family's library was the chief elder's subordinate. He dismissed Li Ping by saying that Lu Ming was a good-for-nothing. Li Ping had no choice but to go to Lu Chuan and the Grand Elder. She even knelt down and begged them, but they still did not give her a single martial skill. Li Ping, who was at her wit's end, went to the Li family hoping to get a cultivation technique or martial skill. The Li family was a small family in Fenghua City. It was Li Ping's mother's family. Currently, Li Ping's elder brother, who was also Lu Ming's uncle, was in charge of the family. But Lu Ming's uncle rejected Li Ping because Lu Ming was a member of the Lu family and it was not appropriate for the Li family to lend cultivation techniques or martial skills to outsiders. Li Ping had no choice but to kneel in the Li family's main hall, hoping to get a martial skill. Damn it! Chapter 4. In Firestorm City, the Lu family was a true hegemon. No other family could compare. The Li family was originally an unknown small family in Firestorm City. Later on, when Li Ping married the then patriarch of the Lu family, Lu Yuntian, the Li family borrowed the power of the Lu family and rose to the top. Lu Ming remembered that the Li family treated him and Li Ping very well at that time. However, After Lu Yuntian's accident, the Li family's attitude towards him and his mother changed. Especially after Lu Ming's grandfather passed away and his uncle took over the Lu family. The Li family became more and more distant to the point of ignoring them. The fickleness of human nature was the reality. In the Li family's courtyard, Li Ping knelt there, trembling slightly. Many disciples of the Li family surrounded her and pointed at her. Above the courtyard, a middle-aged man with a big belly looked at Li Ping coldly and said, "Little sister, how long are you going to kneel? Don't you find it embarrassing?" He was Li Ping's elder brother, Li Fu. "Big brother, I beg you, Ming-Er finally managed to cultivate true qi. He is your nephew. Please give him 1 or 2 cultivation methods and martial skills." Li Ping begged with tears in her eyes. "Little sister, I'll say something you don't want to hear. Lu Ming has been weak since he was young, and he can't awaken his bloodline. Even if he manages to cultivate qi, what's the use? He won't be able to achieve anything in the future. It's better for him to be an ordinary person and live out his life peacefully. Also, let me tell you, the Lu family's head elder has already spoken to me and asked me to know my place. Little sister, I'm in a difficult position. If I help you, I'll offend the head elder." Li Fu said indifferently, "Big brother, I beg you, I don't want Ming-Er to achieve anything great. I'm satisfied as long as he can become a martial artist and strengthen his body. Big brother, I promise this is the last time I beg you. I won't make things difficult for you in the future." Li Ping continued to plead. Li Fu frowned and pondered for a moment. Then he took out a book and threw it in front of Li Ping, saying, "For the sake of our many years of brotherhood, take this 3 sword-drawing strikes. Although it's not popular, it's enough for Lu Ming. Don't bother me anymore. Mother." At this moment, Lu Ming and Autumn Moon arrived. Lu Ming helped Li Ping up. He felt that Li Ping's body was slightly trembling. It was obvious that she had been kneeling for a long time. "Ming-Er, hurry up and thank your uncle." Li Ping looked deeply at Li Fu and said to Lu Ming, "Thank him?" Lu Ming's chest was filled with anger. "We don't need their charity. Mother, let's go back." Lu Ming didn't even look at the martial skill book. He supported Li Ping and left the Li family. "I'm giving you face, but you don't want it. You're just lucky to be able to cultivate a bit of jinqi. Do you really think you're a genius? Just a piece of trash." The disciples of the Li family sneered. Lu Ming didn't care about these people. Without strength, it was useless to say anything. If he said too much, they would look down on him even more. But Lu Ming swore that one day he would use facts to shut them all up. After leaving the Li family, Li Ping sighed and said, "Ming-Er, you're too impulsive. That's a martial skill book. As long as it can make you a martial artist, it'll be worth it no matter how much I suffer." Lu Ming stood straight like a divine sword. His eyes were filled with determination as he said, "Mother, even without the Li family's charity, I'll definitely become a martial artist. And a martial artist at that." After returning to his residence, Lu Ming entered the Temple of Paragon and worked even harder to cultivate. After practicing the Flame Dragon Fist once, Lu Ming began to practice the Dragon Snake Steps. The Dragon Snake Steps was a martial skill that was very profound. After mastering it, one's movements would be as fast as lightning. With the help of the chanting in the temple, Lu Ming's progress was very fast. After practicing it twice, he had already reached the initial insight stage. Swish! Swish! Lu Ming twisted his body like a dragon and a snake. With a twist of his waist, he took a step forward and covered a distance of more than 3 meters. A distance of more than 3 meters was 10 feet. At the first level of the Dragon Snake Steps initial insight, one step can cover a distance of 10 feet. At the second level, one step can cover a distance of 20 feet. Every time I break through to the next level, the distance will increase by 10 feet. I'm still very far away. Continue. Then, under Lu Ming's arduous cultivation, 10 days passed. In these 10 days, Lu Ming consecutively opened 2 more meridians and reached the peak of the middle stage of the meridian opening realm. What he gained the most was martial skills. Flame Dragon Fist and Dragon Snake Steps had both reached the 3rd level, mastery. The cultivation of Qi is still too slow. At this rate, I don't know how long it will take to open 3 meridians. Lu Ming started to think. If he wanted to open his meridians quickly and condense his Qi vortex to enter the martial warrior realm, he would need a large amount of Dragon Tiger Pills. However, Dragon Tiger Pills cost 100 taels of silver each, and he could be said to be penniless. Now that I've reached the peak of the middle stage of the meridian opening realm and the 2 martial skills have reached mastery, I should be able to protect myself. It's time to go to the Demon Beast Mountain Range to try my luck. The Demon Beast Mountain Range was a huge mountain range 50 miles away from Firestorm City. The mountain range had a radius of a few hundred miles and was filled with towering ancient trees. There were many spiritual herbs growing in the mountain range, attracting a large number of martial artists in Firestorm City to search for them. Of course, opportunities were often accompanied by risks. In the mountain range, there were many fierce beasts and even stronger demonic beasts. Every year, many martial artists died in the mouths of demonic beasts. Lu Ming didn't want to go deep into the Demon Beast Mountain Range. He only wanted to try his luck and train his martial skills. After finding an excuse and informing Li Ping, Lu Ming headed towards the Demon Beast Mountain Range. 2 hours later, Lu Ming arrived at the foot of the Demon Beast Mountain Range. Looking up, the Demon Beast Mountain Range was like a giant beast, giving people a strong sense of oppression. Without any hesitation, Lu Ming rushed into the Demon Beast Mountain Range. Roar! He had only entered a few miles when a ferocious beast pounced on him. It was a white tiger with a long neck. It was more than 1 meter tall and 3 meters long. Before it even reached Lin Fan, there was already a fierce aura coming from it. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes slightly and took a deep breath. His figure swayed and he dodged to one side. Then he circulated his true Qi, starting from his feet and then to his spine at the waist. He drove all the strength in his body and punched. Flame Dragon Fist. Pung! This punch landed heavily on the tiger's neck. With the explosion of strength, the tiger was sent flying. Roar! The tiger was in pain and became even more fierce. It roared and pounced on Lu Ming. Lu Ming used the Dragon Snake Steps and twisted his body to avoid the tiger's attack. Then, he used the Flame Dragon Fist to hit the tiger's waist. Ferocious Tiger was thrown out again. Lu Ming practiced the god-level cultivation technique, true dragon battle art. The Jinqi he cultivated was like a dragon that flowed in his meridians and had a strong explosive force. Although Lu Ming's cultivation was at the peak of the middle stage of the meridian opening realm, the explosive force was not something an ordinary peak of the middle stage of the meridian opening realm could compare to. Combined with the Flame Dragon Fist, Lu Ming's fist strength was at least 1,000 jin. The tiger was hit by Lu Ming's 2 punches in a row. It was seriously injured and blood was dripping from its mouth. At this moment, it roared and turned around to escape. Lu Ming chased after it. A few minutes later, the tiger escaped into a cave. Lu Ming hesitated for a moment before he chased after it. After entering the cave, he found the tiger lying in the cave with blood flowing out of its mouth. It was on the verge of death. That's a level 1 low-grade spirit herb, silver bell grass. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He saw a stalk of spirit herb in a stone crevice in the cave. It had 9 leaves, and each leaf was like a bell. Spirit herbs were divided into 9 grades. Each grade was further divided into low grade, middle grade, and high grade. Level 1 low grade, silver bell grass, contained a large amount of spirit energy and was worth 300 silver taels. It was comparable to 3 dragon tiger pills. He didn't expect to have such a harvest after entering the Demon Beast mountain range. This trip was not in vain. Following that, he finished off the ferocious tiger with a punch. Thereafter, Lu Ming took out a backpack that he had prepared beforehand. He plucked the silverbell grass and put it into the backpack. "Brother Feng, do you really know of a small path that leads to the Sand Snake Bandit's lair?" Chapter 5. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He held his breath and listened intently. Haha, of course. I spent a lot of effort to get a concubine of the Viper Bandit's leader. After that, I found out about this path from that bitch. If it weren't for the fact that we are best friends, I wouldn't have brought you here. Another voice rang out. He could tell that both of them were young people. I knew it. Big Brother Feng is so handsome and elegant. Which woman can resist Big Brother Feng's charm? That voice from before flattered. Haha. Brother Feng seemed to be very proud. He said, "There's a cave here. Let's take a rest here. When the family head and the Viper Bandits start fighting, we'll sneak into the Viper Bandits' lair. The Viper Bandits, leader's treasures, will all be ours." As he spoke, the two young men around the age of 17 walked into the cave. As soon as they entered the cave, they saw Lu Ming at a glance. "Lu Ming, it's you? Why are you here?" One of the young men with a black mole on his face exclaimed, "He's from the Li family." Lu Ming was stunned. He knew these two young men. They were from Li Ping's family, the Li family. One of them was called Li Feng. He was quite handsome. The young man with a black mole was called Li Fei. "Lu Ming, did you hear what we said just now?" Li Feng stared at Lu Ming with a gloomy face. Lu Ming said, "I guess so." "Lu Ming, since you heard it, you can only blame your bad luck." Li Feng's eyes were filled with murderous intent. "You want to kill me?" Lu Ming's face darkened. "Lu Ming, remember to be smarter in your next life. A piece of trash like you shouldn't run around. Otherwise, you'll easily get yourself killed." Li Feng's voice was cold and filled with disdain. "Brother Feng, there's no need for you to do anything. I'll kill him." Li Fei took a step forward, not putting Lu Ming in his eyes at all. Although the two of them also saw the tiger's corpse in the cave, they didn't think that it was killed by Lu Ming. They thought that it was killed by other beasts or demon beasts. How could they not know what level Lu Ming was at? Li Feng nodded and said, "Yes, let's get this over with quickly. After we get rid of this trash, let's quickly rest." "Brother Feng, don't worry. I'll finish you off in one move." Li Fei revealed a sinister smile, his claw swiping towards Lu Ming's throat. Li Fei was at the middle stage of the meridian opening realm and had opened 5 meridians. This claw had at least 250 kilograms of force. If this claw were to connect, Lu Ming would be heavily injured even if he didn't die. "Since you want to kill me, I'll have to kill you first," Lu Ming murmured. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes as his figure moved and punched out. Flame Dragon Fist. This punch arrived first, landing directly on Li Fei's chest. Bang! Li Fei was like a sack as he was sent flying. He crashed heavily into the wall of the cave, blood spurting out of his mouth before he stopped breathing. Li Fei was killed by Lu Ming with a single punch. You killed Li Fei? How is that possible?" Li Feng's eyes widened in disbelief as he shrieked, "Aren't you trash? You can actually kill Li Fei? Trash? Hee hee. Then this trash will send you on your way?" Lu Ming sneered. "Send me on my way? What a joke. I've already opened 8 meridians. You think you can kill me? Do you think I'm Li Fei? Die." Soon, Li Feng calmed down. He unsheathed his long sword and stabbed towards Lu Ming. However, Li Feng was just an ordinary martial artist. His martial skills were mediocre, and his attainment was even worse. How could he be Lu Ming's opponent? With a flash of the dragon snake steps, he dodged Li Feng's sword light and punched Li Feng's stomach. Li Feng screamed and flew out. He fell to the ground and vomited blood. However, Li Feng's cultivation was slightly higher. He was only heavily injured and did not die. A trash like you dares to call me trash? Lu Ming walked toward Li Feng, exuding a murderous aura. No, don't kill me. Li Feng was scared out of his wits as he screamed. Never in his wildest dreams did he expect Lu Ming to be so powerful. How do I get to the Viper Bandit's lair? Tell me, Lu Ming asked. Originally, Lu Ming could have killed Li Feng with a single punch. The reason why he did not kill him was because of the Viper Bandit's lair. The Viper Bandits were a group of bandits that were active in the vicinity of the demonic Beast mountain range. They committed all kinds of crimes. However, due to the complicated terrain of the mountain forest, they were never exterminated. Over the years, the Viper Bandits had collected countless treasures. If Lu Ming could obtain them, he would have enough money to buy dragon tiger pills. You want to know the path to the Viper Bandit's lair? I can tell you, but you have to spare my life. Li Feng's eyes flashed as he said. At the same time, he was screaming in his heart. When he returned, he would take revenge on Lu Ming. Not only Lu Ming, but his mother would also die a horrible death. You have no right to negotiate with me now. If you don't tell me, I will kill you immediately. Lu Ming's voice was cold as he stared at Li Feng with murderous eyes. Li Feng's heart turned cold as he shouted, Fine, I'll tell you. Li Feng immediately told him the path to the Viper Bandit's lair. Can I take a look now? Li Feng asked. Lu Ming sneered, Leave? Let you go so that you can take revenge on me? After saying that, he punched Li Feng in the chest, killing him. Over the years, Lu Ming had seen through the ups and downs of the world. In the world of martial arts, the weak were prey to the strong. Sometimes, even if you didn't kill others, others would kill you. Hence, Lu Ming wouldn't be soft-hearted towards his enemies. Once he was soft-hearted, he would be the one to die. Then, Lu Ming searched Li Feng and Li Fei's bodies. The two of them were really poor. They had less than 50 taels of silver on them. However, he found a secret manual on Li Feng's body. The horizontal lightning sword was an unorthodox sword technique. Although it wasn't of a high level, it was suitable for Lu Ming. Lu Ming didn't have any other offensive techniques other than the flame dragon fist. It was a good opportunity for him to learn a sword technique. After keeping the secret manual, silver notes, and silver bell grass in the Temple of Paragon, Lu Ming left the cave and headed in the direction of the Viper Bandit's lair. The Viper Bandit's lair was on a mountain more than 30 miles away. The mountain was surrounded by steep cliffs on 3 sides. It was difficult for the monster ape to cross. There was only a narrow path leading to the mountain. It took Lu Ming 2 hours to reach the vicinity of the mountain peak. Along the way, he almost encountered a few demonic beasts. Demonic beasts were strong and ferocious. They were divided into 9 grades, and each grade was divided into 9 grades. As for martial artists starting from the martial soldier realm, each grade was also divided into 9 grades. Hence, even the weakest class, 1 LV1 demonic beast, was equivalent to a LV1 martial soldier. It wasn't something Lu Ming could deal with. Lu Ming waited nearby. According to Li Feng, the Li family's patriarch Li Fu would lead the Li family's experts to surround the Viper Bandits. Of course, Li Fu wasn't so kind as to help the people. His target was the treasures that the Viper Bandits had robbed over the years. Indeed, before long, hundreds of figures appeared in the forest and rushed towards the Viper Bandits' lair. Enemy attack! A loud roar came from the mountain peak. What followed was intense battle cries. It's time! Lu Ming used the dragon snake steps and shuttled through the forest. Soon, he arrived at the back of the Viper Bandit's lair. There was a secret path that led to the mountain peak. Chapter 6. Lu Ming looked around carefully and found a path up the mountain. Although it was steep, Lu Ming's cultivation was enough for him to reach the top. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He followed the path up the mountain. 10 minutes later, Lu Ming reached the top of the mountain. The Viper bandits seemed to think that no one would know about this path, so they were at ease. There was no one guarding this area. It was quiet at the top of the mountain. Everyone must have gone to the front of the mountain to fend off the Li family. Following Li Feng's description, Lu Ming walked toward the bedroom of the Sand Snake Bandit leader. According to Li Feng, the Sand Snake Bandit leader had hidden all the treasures that he had plundered over the years under the bed in his bedroom. If it wasn't for the Viper bandit's concubine, who often pretended to be an ordinary person and went to Fenghua City to buy things, no one would know where the Viper bandit's treasures were hidden. After a while, Lu Ming arrived at the Viper bandit's bedroom. He flipped the floor under the bed and found 2 big boxes and a small box. The 2 big boxes were filled with shiny silver, while the small box was filled with banknotes. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He didn't have time to count them, so he kept them all in the Temple of Paragon and ran back the way he came. Lu Ming didn't stop at the bottom of the mountain. He went straight to Fenghua City. This time, regardless of whether the Li family won or lost, it was destined to be a waste of money. A few hours later, Lu Ming returned to the Lu family. He greeted Li Ping and returned to his room. He entered the Temple of Paragon and hurriedly counted the treasures. Lu Ming was taken aback by the number after counting. There were 100,000 taels in banknotes and 30,000 taels in the 2 big boxes. In total, there were 130,000 taels. It was clear that the Viper bandits had plundered a lot of treasures over the years. But now, all of it belonged to Lu Ming. With this money, I can buy a large amount of dragon tiger pills for my cultivation. Lu Yao, don't even think about taking control of the Lu clan during the Lu clan's meeting a month later. Also, I will take back what belongs to me. Lu Ming clenched his fists tightly, his eyes filled with unyielding determination. After that, Lu Ming left the Temple of Paragon and went to the market of Firestorm City. The marketplace of Firestorm City was the most prosperous place in Firestorm City. There were all kinds of shops there. For example, there were pill shops, weapon shops, material shops, and so on. There were caravans coming and going from various places, and there was an endless stream of people. On the way, Lu Ming bought a set of black robes and a black bamboo hat. He wrapped himself in the bamboo hat and black robes. This time he wanted to buy a large amount of dragon tiger pills. He definitely couldn't let anyone discover his identity. The Spirit Medicine Hall was the largest store in Firestorm City that sold medicinal pills. It occupied an area of 10 acres and was 4 stories high. It was said that the Spiritual Medicine Hall had a powerful background and was backed by the Mystic Essence Sword Sect. When he walked into the Spirit Medicine Hall, a young lady immediately came up to him with a smile. "Sir, how can I help you?" She had seen many strange customers, so she didn't find it strange that Lu Ming was wearing a black robe and a bamboo hat. Moreover, strange customers like him were more likely to attract more business. "I want to buy dragon tiger pills. What's the price here?" Lu Ming purposely lowered his voice, making it sound more vigorous. He sounded like a middle-aged man in his 30s. "Esteemed guest, a Class 1 low-grade dragon tiger pill is 100 taels of silver per pill. A Class 1 mid-grade dragon tiger pill is 300 taels of silver per pill, and a Class 1 high-grade dragon tiger pill is 1,000 taels of silver per pill. May I ask what grade you wish to purchase? How much do you want?" The shop assistant asked. Medicinal pills were also divided into 9 grades. Each grade was divided into 3 grades, high, mid, and low. Level 1 low-grade dragon tiger pills, 30 level 1 mid-grade dragon tiger pills, Lu Ming said. That much?" The shop assistant was shocked. Then she became ecstatic. Her attitude became even more respectful. "Sir, the price you want to buy has already exceeded 10,000 taels of silver. I can't make the decision. Our hall master has to personally take care of it. Sir, please wait a moment. I'll go report to our hall master." After saying that, the shop assistant ran into the back hall. After a while, the shop assistant came out and said, Sir, our hall master invites you to the back hall for a chat. Lu Ming nodded and followed the shop assistant to the back hall. Then, the shop assistant poured Lu Ming a cup of tea and left. The back hall was decorated very elegantly. Lu Ming casually glanced around and drank a few mouthfuls of tea. At this time, a fragrant wind blew over. A young woman around 20 years old walked in. The young woman wore a tight red dress. The huge meatballs in front of her chest pushed the red dress up high, as if they couldn't wait to burst out of her clothes and jump out. Her waist was slender, twisting like a water snake. Her extremely perky buttocks accentuated the alluring curves of her dress. Coupled with a pair of limpid eyes, rosy lips, and delicate skin, all of these added together formed a strong visual impact and extreme allure. This was an enchanting woman who could bring disaster to a country. Lu Ming's heart couldn't help but beat faster the moment he saw her. Sir, I am Mullins, the hall master of this spiritual medicine hall. I heard that you want to buy 30 level 1 low-grade dragon tiger pills and 30 level 1 mid-grade dragon tiger pills. Her voice was so sweet that it could make one's bones melt. Lu Ming took a deep breath to calm himself down. He lowered his voice and said, "That's right. For customers who spend 10,000 taels of silver in one go, we give a 10% discount. The total amount of pills adds up to 12,000 taels of silver. With a 10% discount, it would be 10,800 taels of silver." Mullins said coquettishly. Her beautiful eyes swept over Lu Ming's body. "Thank you, Hall Master Mu." Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. After that, Mullins clapped her hands. A young girl who looked like a maid came in with 2 boxes. Each of the boxes contained 30 dragon tiger pills. Lu Ming also took out 10,800 taels of silver and handed it to Mullins. "Hall Master Mu, I will take my leave." After receiving the dragon tiger pills, Lu Ming bid farewell to Mullins. "Sir, if you still want to buy pills, you can come to the spiritual medicine hall. We will give you a 10% discount." Mullins revealed a charming smile. She swayed her snake-like waist and approached Lu Ming. Instantly, a mesmerizing fragrance entered Lu Ming's nose. This was Mullins's body fragrance. It was extremely alluring and filled one with fantasies. What a seductive demoness! Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly cupped his fists and left the place as if he was escaping. Looking at the direction Lu Ming left, Mullins's rosy lips slightly pouted and said, "Interesting. Miss, although this person is wearing a bamboo hat, he looks very ordinary. What's so interesting about him?" The maid beside her asked curiously. Mullins smiled and said, "Little you didn't see it, did you?" Just now, he purposely lowered his voice and pretended to be a middle-aged man. In reality, he is just a youth. In Windy Fire City, there are not many youths who can easily take out 10,000 taels of silver. Moreover, my bloodline gives me a super strong perception. Just now, I felt that this person's bloodline was very strange. It seemed to contain a strong power, but it was not complete. It seemed to be growing. So it's very interesting, isn't it? Miss, from what you said, it is indeed very interesting. The maid blinked and said. Chapter 7. After leaving the market and returning home, Lu Ming couldn't wait to enter the Temple of Paragon and open one of the sandalwood boxes. Inside, there were 30 dragon tiger pills neatly arranged. This was a level 1 inferior grade dragon tiger elixir. It should be sufficient to break through the 7th to 9th meridians. Lu Ming intended to use the level 1 middle grade dragon tiger elixir to break through 3 divine meridians. He took out a dragon tiger pill and swallowed it. After swallowing the dragon tiger pill, his spine heated up and a faint red light flashed. A strong suction force was generated and absorbed all the medicinal energy of the dragon tiger pill. Following that, a pure energy gushed out from his spine. What is my bloodline? This speed of refining medicinal pills is really terrifying. Lu Ming's heart trembled. He controlled the energy in his body and let it flow through the opened meridians. It turned into small dragon-shaped qi and rushed towards the 7th meridian. The dragon-shaped qi was incomparably sharp. It was like a hot knife through butter. Soon, a major acupuncture point in the 7th meridian was opened. Then it was unstoppable. One acupuncture point after another was opened. When he ran out of vital energy, he would swallow a dragon tiger pill, convert it into vital energy, and continue to break through. The 7th to 9th meridians were called heavenly meridians. Of course, it wasn't as easy to open as the other meridians. 2 days passed consecutively. Lu Ming refined 24 dragon tiger pills consecutively before he managed to unlock all 3 heavenly meridians. Lu Ming's cultivation also reached the peak of the late meridian opening stage. At this point, he could start to condense the qi in his dantian and break through to the martial warrior realm. But Lu Ming obviously wouldn't do that. His goal was to open all 3 meridians before breaking through to the martial warrior realm. However, it was not that easy to open up the divine meridian. In fact, it was extremely difficult. Lu Ming was not in a hurry to open up the divine meridian. Instead, he swallowed the remaining 6 level 1 low-grade dragon tiger pills and converted them into vital energy. 1 day later, the true qi in Lu Ming's body had become more condensed and dense. At this time, he began to break through the divine veins. He picked up a level 1 middle-grade dragon tiger pill and swallowed it. Similarly, it was absorbed and refined by the blood vessels in his spine. A gush of energy that was a few times more powerful than a level 1 low-grade dragon tiger pill surged into his body. As expected of a mid-grade level 1 pill, Lu Ming circulated the true dragon art of battle, circulated his true qi, and began to attack the first divine vein. Boom! Lu Ming felt his entire body tremble and go numb. However, the first major acupoint of the first divine vein was still not opened. Lu Ming was not discouraged. He began to accumulate strength and continued to charge forward. Boom! Boom! After 7 consecutive attempts, the first major acupoint of the first divine vein was finally opened. Surging Jinqi poured into the first major acupoint of the first meridian. Spots of light lit up on Lu Ming's body one after another. Those were the major acupoints that had been opened. There was a total of 81 of them. At this time, the 82nd light spot lit up. It was even more resplendent than the previous 81 light spots. I've only opened 1 major acupoint. I feel that the true qi in my body has become denser. Continue. Lu Ming continued to charge forward. However, a divine vein was still a divine vein. The amount of energy it consumed was terrifying. After 3 days, all 36 mid-grade level 1 pills were used up. Only then did he manage to open all 9 major acupoints of the first divine vein. What a powerful force! My pure, true qi eruption should be at least 1,500 jin, right? Lu Ming's eyes flashed with joy. Previously, when he was at the peak of the middle meridian opening stage, he could only erupt with a force of 1,000 jin by combining it with the flame dragon fist. Excluding the flame dragon fist, his pure true qi eruption should be around 700 to 800 jin. Now it had doubled. An ordinary martial artist at the peak of the late meridian opening stage should be able to erupt with a force of 1,000 jin. After condensing a cyclone and breaking through to the first stage of martial warrior, the force of one's true qi eruption would increase to 2,000 jin. 2,000 jin was equivalent to the force of 1 ox. Of course, this calculation did not take into account martial techniques and bloodline bonuses. With martial techniques and bloodline bonuses, one's strength would be even greater. I've already used up all the dragon tiger pills. However, I'm not in a hurry to buy more. My cultivation has risen too quickly these past few days. I need time to consolidate my foundation and practice my martial techniques. One had to take one step at a time in martial arts cultivation. If one broke through too quickly, it would result in an unstable foundation and impure vital energy. Therefore, Lu Ming planned to spend some time to consolidate his foundation before purchasing the Dragon Tiger Elixir and continuing to break through the remaining 2 divine meridians. Following which, Lu Ming began to practice the Flame Dragon Fist and Dragon Snake Steps. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. On this day, while Li Ping and Autumn Moon were not around, Lu Ming began to practice the Flame Dragon Fist in the courtyard. Hoo! Hoo! The wind howled as Lu Ming's body twisted like a dragon. Every time he punched, the air would explode. Ha! In the end, Lu Ming exhaled and punched a rock the size of a human head in the courtyard. With a loud bang, the rock was blasted into pieces by Lu Ming. The 4th stage of the martial technique, perfection. Lu Ming stopped and revealed a joyful expression. After 7 days of practice, he had finally reached the 4th stage of the Flame Dragon Fist. Young master, you become so powerful? Suddenly, a crisp voice came from the door. It was somewhat unbelievable. Autumn Moon. Lu Ming was stunned. He did not expect to be seen by Autumn Moon while he was practicing his martial technique in the courtyard. At this moment, Autumn Moon looked at the rock that was shattered by Lu Ming and then looked at Lu Ming. With tears in her eyes, she rushed in front of Lu Ming and tightly grasped Lu Ming's hand, saying, "Young master, this is great. Young master is so powerful. You've finally become a martial arts expert. If Madam knew, she would be so happy." As she spoke, tears flowed down her face. Although Autumn Moon's body was weak, she was still a beauty. At this moment, her beautiful face softened Lu Ming's heart. He reached out his hand to wipe away the tears on Autumn Moon's face and said, "Autumn Moon, I've succeeded in my cultivation. Shouldn't you be happy? Why are you crying?" "Young master, I'm happy for you." Autumn Moon coquettishly pouted. Suddenly, she realized that her small hands were still tightly grasping one of Lu Ming's hands. Feeling the warmth of Lu Ming's palm, her heart suddenly jumped like a deer. Like a frightened rabbit, she jumped back a few steps, her face flushed red. Looking at Autumn Moon's shy face and teary eyes, Lu Ming subconsciously blurted out, "Autumn Moon, you're so beautiful." At this moment, Autumn Moon's face turned even redder, like a ripe apple. She lowered her head and whispered, "Young master, what are you talking about?" Cough, cough. "Ha ha, Autumn Moon, I've had a fortuitous encounter recently. That's why I've reached this level of cultivation, but I can't tell you the details yet." Lu Ming coughed dryly and quickly changed the topic. Autumn Moon blinked her big teary eyes and looked deeply at Lu Ming. She said, "Young master, can you tell Madam?" "Not for now," Lu Ming said. "All right then, I promise you." After Autumn Moon finished speaking, she pondered for a moment. She seemed to have made up her mind and said, "Young master, I want to ask you for a favor." "What is it?" Lu Ming asked. Chiao Yu bit her lips and said, "Young master, can you teach Chiao Yu to cultivate in the martial Tao?" Lu Ming was stunned and said, "Autumn Moon, you want to cultivate martial arts?" "Yes, young master. Autumn Moon wants to cultivate martial arts so that I can repay my parents in the future. Also, Autumn Moon hopes to help young master and madam with my own strength in the future." Autumn Moon said. Lu Ming nodded. He knew a little about Autumn Moon's background. Autumn Moon's parents were from a poor family outside Fenghua City. And Autumn Moon was not her parents' biological child. She was adopted from outside. Because she was too poor, Autumn Moon was sold to Lu Ming when she was 8 years old and became Li Ping's personal maid. She grew up with Lu Ming. She was older than Lu Ming by a year, and they were like siblings. "All right, Autumn Moon, but your body is too weak. You need to take a blood replenishing pill to replenish your blood. Then I'll try to help you awaken your bloodline." Lu Ming smiled and agreed to Autumn Moon's request. Young master, you agree? That's great. Autumn Moon was overjoyed and almost jumped into Lu Ming's arms. In the end, she restrained herself with a red face. Chapter 8. The Divine Weapon Pavilion was a place to buy weapons in the Windfire City Market. Not only were there ordinary weapons used by ordinary people, there were also spirit weapons used by warriors. Spirit weapons were made from precious materials and were incomparably sharp. They could cut through iron like mud and could even increase a warrior's battle strength. Therefore, spirit weapons were the best weapons for warriors. For example, the sword that Lu Ming's father had left behind and was later taken away by Lu Chuan was a spirit weapon. Spirit weapons were mainly divided into 9 grades. Each grade was further divided into low, middle, and high grade. This time, Lu Ming wanted to buy a spirit weapon to cultivate his sword arts. Lu Ming and Autumn Moon walked into the Divine Weapon Pavilion together. In the Divine Weapon Pavilion, there were 2 rows of young and beautiful women. They were the female shop assistants who received customers. But when Lu Ming and Autumn Moon walked into the shop, these female shop assistants all frowned. None of them came forward to receive them. Lu Ming and Qiu, you were not dressed very well. Lu Ming was wearing simple clothes made of coarse cloth, while Qiu Yu was wearing a maid's uniform. These shop assistants were all experienced. One look and they could tell that the 2 of them were the kind of people who were poor. Naturally, no one wanted to receive the 2 of them. Lu Ming frowned slightly and ignored them as he looked around. In the Divine Weapon Pavilion, most of them were ordinary weapons. There were very few level 1 spirit weapons, and most of them were only level 1 low-grade spirit weapons. There were very few middle-grade spirit weapons. Lu Ming walked around and only saw 3 middle-grade spirit weapons. Lu Ming did not take a fancy to any of them. If he wanted to buy one, he planned to buy a better one. Young master, is there anything I can help you with? I can recommend it for you. At this moment, a timid voice sounded. It was a young female shop assistant with a round face and a slightly red face. Looking at Lu Ming, she seemed a little uneasy. She was a new shop assistant in this weapon shop. She was a little shy and her performance was poor. Seeing that no one was receiving Lu Ming, she boldly came up. This girl has no performance this month. She's really anxious. What kind of person is she receiving? With my many years of experience in this industry, it's already not bad for this kid to be able to buy an iron sword for 10 taels of silver. Isn't that so? To receive such a country bumpkin, I might as well stand here and rest. Not far away, a few female shop assistants looked at Lu Ming and whispered. Although their voices were not loud, they still reached Lu Ming, Autumn Moon, and the others' ears. Young master! Autumn Moon pulled Lu Ming's sleeves. It's all right. Lu Ming smiled at Qiu Yu. These were just ordinary people. He could not be bothered to lower himself to their level. Just as he was about to ask the round-faced female shop assistant if she had a higher-grade spirit weapon, he was interrupted by a discordant voice. What brings you here? Following the voice, a young man and a young woman walked in. The man's face was full of pockmarks. He was not tall, but he was wearing a gorgeous silver robe. The woman was somewhat beautiful, but her nose was pointed to the sky and she had an arrogant look. Lu Bing, Lu Mei. Lu Ming's expression changed. The Lu family was divided into 1 main branch and 7 branches. Lu Ming knew these 2 people. One was the son of the 5th branch of the Lu family, and the other was the daughter of the 6th branch of the Lu family. The one who spoke just now was Lu Bing. Lu Bing sized up Lu Ming and said with some disdain, "What's wrong?" Lu Ming, I heard that you failed to awaken your bloodline and can't condense your true qi. You want to learn from others and buy weapons? Do you want to buy a kitchen knife to kill a chicken? Ha ha ha. Pockmarks, Lu move. You're blocking the way. Lu Ming replied unhurriedly. Lu Ming, what did you say? Lu Bing hated it when people called him pockmarked. Now that Lu Ming actually called him that in front of so many young beauties, especially Lu Mei, he was instantly enraged. "Pockmarks, Wang, I told you to move," Lu Ming shouted coldly. "Lu Ming, you're courting death. Do you still think you're the young master of the main branch? After the family meeting, Miss Yao will become the head of the family. Then you'll be nothing. Do you understand? You still dare to offend me? Quick, come and curry favor with me. Kowtow to me and apologize. Then I'll reward you with a bowl of rice." Lu Bing barked like a provoked wild dog, but Lu Ming just looked at him coldly, as if he was looking at an idiot. "Lu Ming, just you wait." Lu Bing's eyes flashed with coldness. He took a deep breath and calmed himself down. Then he looked at Lu Ming mockingly and said, "Lu Ming, did I hit the nail on the head? You're here to buy a kitchen knife to kill a chicken. That's right. What good stuff can you buy? Young Master Lu Bing, welcome. What do you need? Just say it." A few female shop assistants had already surrounded Lu Bing with flattering smiles on their faces. Hee. Seeing that there was only a round-faced female shop assistant beside Lu Ming, Lu Bing sneered and purposely said loudly, "Today is my sister Lu Mei's birthday. I want to buy her a spirit weapon as a gift. Tell me, what good spirit weapons do you recommend?" He purposely emphasized the words spirit weapon. Young Master Lu Bing wants to buy a spirit weapon. Those female shop assistants' eyes lit up as they started to recommend with all their might. "Young Master Lu Bing, what do you think of this green pine sword? Level 1 low-grade spirit weapon. It has pine patterns. This silver ice sword is also not bad." But after Lu Mei looked at those spirit weapons, she shook her head. It was obvious that she did not like them. Lu Bing gritted his teeth and shouted, "Don't try to fool me with those level 1 low-grade spirit weapons. Take out your level 1 mid-grade spirit weapons." "Young Master Lu Bing, you want to buy a mid-grade spirit weapon?" When the female shop assistants heard this, their eyes lit up and their bodies trembled with excitement. They surrounded Lu Bing and started to promote. A mid-grade spirit weapon was worth at least 800 silver taels. If they sold it, their commission would definitely not be small. It would be strange if they were not excited. Beside Lu Ming, the round-faced female shop assistant looked at him with envy. She was shy by nature and could not compete with the other shop assistants. After a round of recommendation, Lu Bing chose a mid-grade level 1 spirit weapon, Clear Wind Sword. It was worth 1,000 silver taels. Lu Bing paid with some pain. 2 banknotes of 500 silver taels. He even deliberately waved them in his hand and looked at Tang Feng with contempt. "What? Lu Ming, why aren't you choosing the weapon you want to buy? Is it because the weapons here are too low level and you don't like them? Ha ha ha." Lu Bing laughed arrogantly. "Of course, big brother Lu Bing. He is the young master of the main branch. How could he be interested in a mid-grade level 1 spirit weapon?" Lu Mei chuckled. She held the Clear Wind Sword and looked left and right, unable to put it down. "How do you know? I really feel that the weapons here are too low level." Suddenly, Lu Ming pretended to be surprised. Then he said to the round-faced female shop assistant, "Miss, do you have any high-grade level 1 spirit weapons here? Let me see." What? The whole place suddenly went silent, including the round-faced female shop assistant, Autumn Moon, the other female shop assistants, Lu Bing and Lu Mei. They all looked at Lu Ming in a daze. "What? Lu Ming, you want to buy a high-grade level 1 spirit weapon? Do you know how much silver a high-grade level 1 spirit weapon costs? You can't just talk about it. Can you afford it?" Lu Bing's eyes flashed as he called out to Lu Ming. A high-grade level 1 spirit weapon was at least several times more expensive than a mid-grade level 1 spirit weapon. Even if he was beaten to death, he did not believe that Lu Ming could afford it. "Young master, are you saying that you want to buy a high-grade level 1 spirit weapon?" The round-faced female shop assistant asked in disbelief. What? You don't have any high-grade level 1 spirit weapons here? Or are you afraid that I don't have enough silver? Lu Ming smiled and took out a stack of banknotes from his bosom. Each banknote was worth 500 taels. There were more than 10 banknotes. How do you have so many banknotes? Looking at the stack of banknotes in Lu Ming's hand, Lu Bing's eyes almost popped out. Lu Mei and the other female shop assistants' eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Autumn Moon also opened her mouth and looked at Lu Ming in a daze. Chapter 9. The round-faced salesgirl was so excited that her round face was flushed red. She stuttered. Yes, there's a high-grade level 1 spirit weapon. Please wait a moment, I'll go get it for you. After saying that, the round-faced salesgirl hurriedly ran to the back. After a while, she and a few big men brought 4 or 5 spirit weapons over. Young master, these are all high-grade level 1 spirit weapons. Please take a look. This one is called the Autumn Water Sword. The round-faced salesgirl took a long sword and unsheathed it. The sword was 1.5 meters long and slightly thin. The body of the sword was like a clear spring, emitting rings of water vapor. Good sword. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Compared to this sword, the clear wind sword in Lu Mei's hand was trash. However, Lu Ming still shook his head. The attribute of this sword did not match with his cultivation technique. He continued to look. He looked at a few more. Kung. The last one was called the Black Edge Sword. The body of the sword was pitch black and emitted a fluorescent light. It was as if it was made from black jade. The 2 sides of the sword flickered with cold light, filled with a sharp feeling. I'll take this one. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Shopkeeper, how much is this one? Young master has good eyesight. This black-edged sword is one of the best among high-grade level 1 spirit weapons. It's not too expensive. Just 3,000 silver taels will do, the round-faced salesgirl said. Okay. Lu Ming very straightforwardly took out 6 500 silver taels notes and gave them to the round-faced salesgirl. Since they were all silver taels from the Sand Snake Bandits, Lu Ming did not feel the slightest bit of heartache when spending them. On the side, Lu Bing's face was gloomy. Lu Mei looked at the clear wind sword in her hand, and then looked at the black-edged sword in Lu Ming's hand with envy. The round-faced salesgirl was so excited that her face was flushed red. A transaction of 3,000 silver taels. How much commission could she get? As for the other salesgirls, they all looked at the round-faced salesgirl with envy and regret. If they had known that Lu Ming was so rich, they would not have let the round-faced salesgirl snatch it away. Envy was envy, but it was too late. He could only warn himself in his heart that he must never judge a book by its cover in the future. Lu Ming picked up the black-edged sword and pulled Autumn Moon's hand. He walked to Lu Bing's side and looked at the breeze sword in Lu Mei's hand. He said in a low voice, "You're interested in such trash." After saying that, he laughed and left. Lu Bing's face was so ugly that he wanted to die. He gritted his teeth. Young master, it was really satisfying just now. That Lu Bing and that Lu Mei have always been snobbish. Now they have finally slapped their own faces. After leaving the Divine Weapon Pavilion, Chiu Autumn Moon waved her little fists and exclaimed excitedly. Lu Ming smiled. To be honest, he didn't care about Lu Bing at all. His target was Lu Yao. Walking in the market square, Chiu Yu's eyes were wide open as she looked all around. The things in the market were generally more expensive. Chiu Autumn Moon had only been here a few times in the past few years. Naturally, she was very curious. Lu Ming accompanied Autumn Moon for a while. Then he took out 200 taels of silver and gave it to Autumn Moon. He said, "Autumn Moon, take this silver and buy some food. I still have things to do. Once you're done, wait for me here." "Young master, if Madam asks where the silver came from, what should I say?" Chiu Autumn Moon asked. "And Just tell Mother that I found a stalk of spirit grass in the outskirts of the demonic Beast Mountain Range and earned some silver." Tang Feng said after thinking for a while. Chiu Autumn Moon nodded and said, "Okay, then, young master, I'll go now." Chiu Autumn Moon took the silver and happily went shopping. After that, Lu Ming found a place where there was no one and changed into a black robe and bamboo hat. He once again went to the spirit medicine hall. He planned to buy another batch of dragon tiger pills and some blood replenishing pills for Chiu Autumn Moon. The person who received him was still Mulins. Today, Mulins changed into a tight black muslin dress, which was even more alluring. Her curves rose and fell, and her white skin was faintly discernible under the black muslin dress. It made people want to tear apart the black muslin dress and see what was underneath. "Guest, you're here again?" Upon seeing Lu Ming, Mulin smiled and said, "I haven't even opened my mouth. How do you know it's me?" Lu Ming lowered his voice and said. Mulan giggled, her firm chest heaving up and down. She took light steps and approached Lu Ming, saying, "It's because of the smell on your body. I can smell your scent." As she said that, her small and delicate nose sniffed Lu Ming's body. The orchid-like fragrance went straight into Lu Ming's nose. Lu Ming was only a 15-year-old hot-blooded youth. How could he withstand such a situation? His heart instantly started to beat wildly. "Hall Master Mu, I'm here today to buy dragon tiger pills." Lu Ming forced himself to calm down and said. Mulins rolled her eyes at Lu Ming and said, "Guest, why are you in such a hurry? Don't you want to see me?" "No, Hall Master Mu, you've misunderstood. I have other things to do." Lu Ming hurriedly waved his hand. He really wanted to leave this place quickly. No man could resist a beauty like Mulin's. All right then. How many do you want to buy?" Mulin smiled and asked. 121st tier mid-grade dragon tiger pills and 30 blood replenishing pills. Lu Ming said, "What? So many?" This time Mulins and the maid were both shocked. "What's wrong?" "Hall Master Mu, the spiritual medicine hall doesn't have that many?" Lu Ming frowned slightly. The last 2 divine veins would definitely be harder to open. He had to buy more. Mulan took a deep look at Lu Ming and smiled again. "Yes, of course. Xiaoye, go and prepare the elixir pills." Xiaoye nodded and went out. Not long after, Xiaoye came back with a few boxes. 121st tier mid-grade dragon tiger pills and 30 blood replenishing pills. Mulin said, "Guest 121st tier mid-grade dragon tiger pills. After a 10% discount, the total is 32,400 pills. Let's count it as 32,000 taels. Also, take the 30 blood replenishing pills as my gift to you." "Thank you, Hall Master Mu." Lu Ming took the pills and paid the money. He cupped his fists and hurriedly left the spiritual medicine hall. "Miss, this person is really interesting. It's only been 10 days. Did he use up all the dragon tiger pills he bought last time? Did he buy them for a lot of people?" After Lu Ming left, the maid, Xiaoye, asked curiously. "It's hard to say, but I feel that his aura is much stronger than the last time he came. He's really interesting. You stay here and watch. I'm going to take a look myself. I want to see which young talent of Firestorm City he is," Mulins ordered. She twisted her body and disappeared like a gust of wind. After leaving the spiritual medicine hall, Lu Ming found a secluded place. He took off his black robe and bamboo hat and kept them in the Temple of Paragon along with the pills. Then he went to the place he had agreed to meet with Autumn Moon. He found her and went back with her. However, they were stopped by Lu Bing and 2 other men in an empty alley on the way back to the Lu family. Lu Bing's face was gloomy. He stared at Lu Ming and said, "Lu Ming, you're finally willing to come back. I've been waiting for a long time." What do you want?" Autumn Moon instinctively stood in front of Lu Ming to protect him. Lu Bing laughed coldly and said, Lu Ming, you trash. How dare you embarrass me in front of so many people? You really don't know what's good for you. I'll give you a chance now. Hand over all the money you have and kneel in front of the Lu family's gate. Then I'll let you go. Lu Ming smiled faintly and said, You really are trash. Chapter 10. Facing Lu Bing's roar, Lu Ming remained calm and said coldly, A good dog doesn't block the way. Get out of my way. You're asking for it. Break his mouth. Lu Bing roared. Yes, Master Bing. The two men behind Lu Bing were also 16 or 17 years old. Like Lu Bing, they were from the 5th branch. The two of them closed in on Lu Ming. One of them sneered, Lu Ming, do you still think you're the successor of the main branch of the Lu family? Do you still think you're the young master of the Lu family? You're just a piece of trash now. A piece of trash that can't even be compared to a servant. Now, we'll make you realize that there are some people you can't afford to offend. Young master. Autumn Moon's face turned pale with fright. Her small hands grabbed onto Lu Ming's sleeves tightly. Don't be afraid. It's just 2 dogs. Do you think your young master can't handle them? Lu Ming patted Autumn Moon's head and smiled. Of course. His words reached the ears of the 2 young men. Immediately, trash! You're asking for it. The 2 of them roared and pounced on Lu Ming. Their fists whistled as they aimed for Lu Ming's face. Although the 2 of them were ordinary martial artists, one of them had opened 7 meridians while the other had opened 8. Their combined strength was not weak. The 2 of them, including Lu Bing, sneered as if they could already see Lu Ming being beaten to a pulp. Get out of here. Just as the 2 fists were about to land, Lu Ming shouted coldly and slapped out. This slap was as fast as lightning. 2 pa-pa sounds were heard, followed by 2 screams. 2 figures flew out with blood and dozens of teeth. They fell heavily on the ground. My face, my teeth! The 2 of them screamed on the ground. One side of their face was swollen and blood flowed out from their mouths. Half of their teeth were gone. Lu Bing was stunned and looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. Lu Ming, this good-for-nothing, actually sent 2 of his experts flying with a slap? How could this be? Lu Bing, you keep saying that I'm trash and that you're going to break my mouth. Now that your 2 lackeys' mouths are broken, it's your turn. Lu Ming looked at Lu Bing and said coldly, Lu Ming, I don't know what kind of luck you've run into, or what kind of heavenly treasure you've obtained that allowed you to cultivate and advance your cultivation base. But do you think that just because you've defeated these 2 pieces of trash you can fight me? I'm a bloodline warrior. Lu Bing took a deep breath and calmed himself down. So what if Lu Ming could cultivate? He was just an ordinary warrior who could not awaken his bloodline, while he was a bloodline warrior who had awakened a rank 2 bloodline. Lu Ming, I will now show you what a bloodline martial artist is. Lu Bing yelled. Then, a blood-red light flashed behind him. A fiery red giant wolf appeared above his head. It walked in the air majestically. Fierce wolf fist. Lu Bing yelled and took a step forward. Like a wolf, he charged towards Lu Ming. Peak of the late soothing pulse stage, rank 2 bloodline? I'd like to see how strong you are. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. He stepped on the tip of his foot, twisted his waist, and punched out with the flame dragon fist. Bang! Lu Ming and Lu Bing's fists collided. Crack! After a loud bang, there was the sound of bones breaking. Then Lu Bing flew back at a speed faster than when he had rushed over. He fell heavily on the ground and screamed while holding his right hand. Is that all a bloodline warrior can do? Lu Ming smiled disdainfully. His eyes were cold as he walked towards Lu Bing step by step. Lu Bing was shocked. He kept moving back and shouted, Lu Ming, what are you doing? I'm warning you, don't mess around. It's nothing, just a robbery. Now hand over all your valuables. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Don't even think about it. Lu Bing roared. Oh, if that's the case, I'll have to break your mouth. Lu Ming sneered. He lifted his foot and was about to step on Lu Bing's face. Seeing that Lu Ming was really going to make a move, Lu Bing was finally scared. He shouted, "Wait, I'll give you all my valuables." To be honest, Lu Bing had quite a lot of money on him. He actually took out more than 3,000 taels of silver and handed it to Lu Ming painfully. "That's all." Lu Ming curled his lips and put it away with a look of disdain. This made Lu Bing almost vomit blood. 3,000 taels of silver was considered little? He was a descendant of the Lu family. It was already good enough for him to have 3,000 taels of silver. "I'll let you off this time, but if there's a next time, it won't be settled with just a few taels of silver." Lu Ming's eyes were cold. He then left with Qiuyu, who was in a daze. After all, Lu Bing was the son of the head of the 5th branch. If Lu Ming really did anything to him, the head of the 5th branch would definitely not let it go. He was not afraid of himself, but he had to consider Li Ping and Qiuyu. Damn it, Master Bing. Lu Ming is so arrogant. Let's go back and report to the head of the branch. We'll ask him to teach Lu Ming a lesson. One of the young men who had his teeth knocked out walked to Lu Bing and said fiercely, "You idiot, don't you think you've embarrassed yourself enough? If others knew that I was defeated by Lu Ming, this trash, how could I still have the face to show my face? Let me tell you, don't tell anyone about what happened today." Lu Bing scolded. Yes, Master Bing. We won't say a word." The two nodded quickly. "Humph." Lu Bing snorted and said, "There's still about a month before the family meeting. Since Lu Ming can cultivate, he will definitely compete with Lu Yao. At that time, the Great Elder and the rest will naturally take action against Lu Ming. Why do we have to do it ourselves?" Master Bing is wise. The two lackeys immediately flattered. Then, the three of them left quietly. Just after Lu Bing and the rest left, a graceful figure suddenly appeared in the alley. If it was not Mulin's, who else could it be? Interesting. So it's the famous trash young master of the Lu family. Looks like everyone has been fooled by you, Mulan muttered. Then her figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. After returning to his residence, Lu Ming gave the blood-replenishing pill to Qiuyu. Then he returned to his room and entered the Temple of Paragon. Then Lu Ming swallowed the Dragon Tiger pill and started to break through the second divine pulse. The second divine pulse was even harder to break through than the first. This time, Lu Ming consumed a total of 45 level 1 middle-grade Dragon Tiger pills and spent 5 days to unlock the second divine meridian. Once the second divine pulse was broken through, Lu Ming's true qi increased by another notch. Right now, my pure true qi explosive force should be equivalent to the strength of 1 ox. An average level 1 martial warrior's true qi explosion only had the strength of 1 bull. Now, Lu Ming's true qi explosion was no weaker than a level 1 martial warrior. Now, let's continue. Then, Lu Ming started to break through the third divine pulse. The third divine pulse was also the most difficult. After spending a total of 10 days and refining 70 Dragon Tiger pills, he finally managed to open his third meridian. When the third divine pulse was broken through, Lu Ming's body lit up one by one. The 108 acupoints were like stars in the sky, emitting a dazzling light. 108 major acupoints and 12 meridians formed a complete big cycle. Surging vital energy was surging in Lu Ming's meridians. It was incomparably strong. How powerful! 3 divine veins are so much more powerful than 2 divine veins. Lu Ming felt the power in his body and was extremely excited. Although there was only one difference between 3 holy veins and 2 holy veins, the difference was like heaven and earth. 3 meridians meant perfection. 2 meridians meant there were flaws. Lu Ming felt that he could condense a cyclone in his energy center at any time and enter the martial warrior realm. Not yet. I haven't reached the second level of the true art of Battle Dragon. Lu Ming forcefully suppressed it. Then he looked at the second platform after the 99th step. This time, I should be able to go up, right? Lu Ming stood up and walked towards the second platform. Soon, he stood on the 99th step. This was where he had been blocked the last time. Chapter 11. On the second platform, there was also a box, but it was made of bronze. Opening the box, there were 2 books and a jade box. One of the books was not made of paper, but seemed to be made of gold. There were hundreds of pages, and it felt light in his hand as if it was weightless. There were 4 words written on it, True Dragon Battle Art. Lu Ming quickly opened it and read it carefully. So this is not the second level of the True Dragon Battle Art, but the complete version. Lu Ming's eyes lit up as he continued reading. The smile on Lu Ming's face grew wider. According to the records, the True Dragon Battle Art he saw on the first platform was not the first level, but the beginning of the True Dragon Battle Art. It was mainly used to build the foundation and better open the 3 divine veins. And from here, the True Dragon Battle Art truly began. The True Dragon Battle Art was divided into 9 levels. The True Dragon Battle Art condensed dragon-shaped vital energy, and the vital energy cultivated was much more condensed than ordinary vital energy. According to the records, as long as one cultivated the first level, the vital energy would be twice as condensed as ordinary vital energy. Cultivating the second level would be 3 times, and so on. If one cultivated the 9th level, the vital energy would be 10 times as condensed as ordinary vital energy. Lu Ming was ecstatic. 10 times? What kind of concept was that? It was like comparing steel and rotten wood. When steel struck, the rotten wood would be smashed into pieces. As expected of a god-level cultivation technique, it was terrifying. However, the difficulty of successfully cultivating it was no small matter. Not to mention the 9th level, even the first level required one to open 3 divine veins. Otherwise, one would not be able to cultivate it successfully. No wonder the True Dragon Battle Art that he obtained on the first platform stated that he had to open 3 divine veins before he could cultivate the rest of the cultivation technique. This was the first level, and the second level required a lot of materials to assist in cultivation. All of them were extremely precious materials, and some of them Lu Ming had not even heard of. Let's not worry about the rest. To be able to cultivate the first level, the vital energy is twice as condensed as ordinary vital energy. This is already very terrifying. A look of excitement appeared in Lu Ming's eyes as he read through the True Dragon Battle secrets in detail before picking up another book. Flowing Light Sword Art, Yellow Level Upper Level Sword Art. Once mastered, the sword light would be like flowing light as fast as lightning. This was actually a high-grade yellow rank martial skill. One had to know that the Lu clan's martial skill was only a high-grade yellow rank martial skill. In addition, there was a jade box with the words Primary Spirit Pill written on it. The Primary Spirit Pill was a level 3 pill. It was worth at least tens of thousands of taels of silver. There was no market for it. It could quickly increase one's cultivation. It was very useful for martial masters, and even more so for martial warriors. Last time, it was the marrow cleansing pill. Now it's the primary spirit pill. Both are suitable for me. Lu Ming suppressed the ecstasy in his heart and revealed a thoughtful expression. He had a feeling that these were all arranged by someone. Otherwise, how could he be the one who applied it every time? Strange? However, he could not figure it out. Lu Ming shook his head. If he could not figure it out, then he would not think about it. Lu Ming looked at the third platform. If the first and second platforms had such valuable items, then what about the third platform? There were still 99 steps leading to the third platform. When Lu Ming reached the 99th step, as expected, there was a resistance that blocked his path. On the third platform, there was no box as he expected. It was empty. There was only a stone platform in the middle of the platform. He could not see what it was used for. I'm looking forward to it. Lu Ming was very curious about the third platform and the platforms above it. However, he could not go up. Shaking his head, Lu Ming returned to the second platform and started to circulate the true dragon battle secrets. It was time to break through to the martial warrior realm. True Qi circulated through the 12 meridians, and the 108 meridians lit up. The surging true Qi finally gathered in his dantian. Hoo-hoo! Suddenly a cyclone appeared in his dantian. It was spinning rapidly. The true Qi in the 12 meridians was constantly gathering towards the cyclone. At first, the cyclone was very big, like a fog. As time passed, the cyclone became smaller and more condensed. In the end, it was like a real entity that could be seen clearly. Roar. As if there was a dragon's roar. The true Qi in Lu Ming's body was like a small dragon, shuttling back and forth between the meridians and the cyclone. Lu Ming's aura became stronger by a large margin. Martial warrior realm breakthrough. Lu Ming had finally reached the martial warrior realm. As for the true dragon battle secrets, he had naturally cultivated to the first level. Lu Ming opened his eyes and let out a long breath. This breath was like a pillar of air that shot out for more than a meter before dissipating. Boom! Lu Ming stood up abruptly and threw a punch. The air was like a bomb, exploding with a loud bang and loud noises. What a strong force. How strong am I now? Is it the second or third level of martial warrior? Lu Ming had already broken through 3 meridians. He was already superior to ordinary people, now that he had cultivated to the first level of the true dragon battle secrets. His true Qi was twice as dense as ordinary true Qi. Lu Ming really did not know how strong he was now. Then Lu Ming looked at the primary spirit pill. During this period, my cultivation has increased too quickly. I need to consolidate it. It's not suitable for me to take the primary spirit pill. Moreover, there are still 18 days before the family gathering. It's enough. I'll take the primary spirit pill when it's almost time. That way, I'll have more confidence in the family gathering. Lu Ming clenched his fists. Feeling the strong power in his body, he was full of confidence. In the following time, Lu Ming consolidated his cultivation while cultivating a few martial arts techniques, especially the flowing light sword technique. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. At this time, there were only 3 days before the family gathering. However, after such a long time, Lu Ming's bloodline had yet to mature. However, the speed at which he absorbed the spiritual Qi of heaven and earth had increased. Now, it was actually comparable to a third-level bloodline. In addition to the true dragon battle secrets, Lu Ming's speed of absorbing spiritual Qi was comparable to a fourth-level bloodline, even if he cultivated normally. In this half a month, Lu Ming's cultivation had not only consolidated, but it was also steadily advancing. He had already reached the peak of the first level of martial warrior. In terms of martial arts techniques, the flame dragon fist was still at the 4th level, perfection. For martial arts techniques, the higher the level, the more difficult it was to improve. Some people might not be able to cultivate a low-grade yellow rank martial arts technique to perfection in their entire life. However, the dragon snake steps had also improved and reached the 4th level, perfection. As for the flowing light sword technique, it was a high-grade yellow rank martial art and was even more difficult to cultivate. In half a month's time, with the help of the chanting, Lu Ming only managed to cultivate to the 2nd level, which was a small success. Lu Ming sat on a stone bench in the courtyard, brewed a cup of tea, and slowly drank it. After cultivating for so long, Lu Ming also wanted to relax a little before making the final push. Young master, I have good news for you." As soon as he finished his words, a pretty and charming young lady appeared before Lu Ming. Chapter 12. However, compared to half a month ago, Mid-Autumn Moon had changed a lot. In the past half a month, Mid-Autumn Moon had been taking blood replenishing pills and was no longer weak and skinny. Her face was as beautiful as a lotus flower that had just emerged from the water. She had a charming blush, lively and delicate. Her slightly swollen chest was like a budding flower that could bloom at any time. Her slender waist, perky and round buttocks, and slender legs made her look even more slender and elegant. She was very likable. She was definitely a beauty. What's the good news? Lu Ming asked with a smile. Young master, you only care about your own cultivation all day and don't come to see me. Let me tell you, I have already opened 4 meridians. Mid-Autumn Moon whispered into Lu Ming's ear. A faint fragrance entered Lu Ming's nose. It smelled very good. Pucci. However, Lu Ming was not in the mood to smell it. He spat out a mouthful of tea, and his eyes almost popped out. He looked at Mid-Autumn Moon in disbelief and asked, Autumn Moon, what did you say? You've already opened 4 meridians? Yes, young master, is there anything strange? Those meridians are very easy to open. I opened them in 1 hit. Mid-Autumn Moon blinked her big eyes and asked curiously. Lu Ming's mouth began to tremble. He clearly remembered that Mid-Autumn Moon had been recuperating her body for the past 10 days. It was only 3 days ago that Lu Ming passed the qi-gathering technique to Autumn Moon and taught her how to open meridians. However, in just 3 days, Mid-Autumn Moon had already opened 4 meridians. Moreover, her bloodline had not awakened, and she was using the trashiest qi-gathering technique. This was simply unbelievable. Also, what did she mean by open them in 1 hit? Wasn't this the rhythm of infuriating people to death? Could it be that Mid-Autumn Moon was a peerless martial arts genius? Lu Ming's heart was burning. Ahem, nothing. Autumn Moon, can you feel the power of your bloodline? Lu Ming coughed a few times and then asked. For some reason, I can't feel the power of the bloodline. Autumn Moon was also a little confused. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and said, Autumn Moon, come to my room. I'll check for you. Okay. Autumn Moon seemed to have thought of something, and her face turned slightly red. When they arrived at Lu Ming's room, the 2 of them sat on the bed. Tang Feng was going to check Autumn Moon's bloodline. Although he couldn't accurately measure the situation of the bloodline, he could at least know a little. Young master, how do we check? Chiao Autumn Moon seemed to be a little nervous. She fidgeted with her hands and asked softly with a blush on her face. Autumn Moon's appearance was exceptionally charming. Lu Ming's heart could not help but flutter. He revealed a trace of a mischievous smile and said, Of course, I'll take off your clothes to check. Ah, take off my clothes? Autumn Moon let out a cry of surprise. Her small face was so red that it was about to bleed. Even her ears were red. Her pair of small hands grabbed her clothes. She was obviously very nervous. Ha ha, silly girl, I'm just joking with you. As long as I inject true qi into your back, it will be fine. Lu Ming laughed. Autumn Moon blushed and said, Young master, you're so naughty. Okay, let's start. Lu Ming smiled, then stretched out his palm and placed it on Autumn Moon's back. Although there was a layer of clothes between them, he could still feel the warmth of her skin. Chiao Yu felt as if she had been electrocuted. Her body trembled and she let out a moan. Her small face was flushed red. She glanced at Lu Ming with her big watery eyes and then quickly lowered her head. Lu Ming took a deep breath and calmed himself down. Then he slowly injected true qi into Autumn Moon's spine. Then Lu Ming's palm gently pushed up from the bottom of Autumn Moon's back to stimulate the blood vessels and check the situation. At this moment, Lu Ming's face changed. This was because he felt a strong resistance in Autumn Moon's spine, hindering his true qi. What's going on? Lu Ming frowned. Then he increased the input of true qi. At this moment, there was a sudden change. Chiao Yu's spine suddenly emitted a glaring, blood-red glow. Immediately after, a powerful force surged from Chiu Yu's spine and surged toward Lu Ming. This force was not something Lu Ming could resist. With a bang, Lu Ming was directly sent flying by this force and hit the wall. At this moment, the red light on Autumn Moon's spine disappeared without a trace. It was as if nothing had happened. "Young master!" Autumn Moon was shocked. She quickly jumped off the bed and helped Lu Ming. "I'm fine." Lu Ming got up. Other than his qi and blood surging, there was nothing else. Although the force that emerged from Autumn Moon's spine was strong, it was not lethal. "Young master, it's good that you're fine. I was scared to death just now." Autumn Moon patted her chest. Lu Ming frowned. He was sure that Autumn Moon had a blood vessel. However, it was strange that it could produce such a strong force that sent him flying. This was simply unheard of. Seeing Lu Ming frown, Autumn Moon knew that Lu Ming was worried about her blood vessel. She said softly, "Young master, if Autumn Moon can't awaken her blood vessel, then forget it." "Oh, right. Young master, I'll go cook for you and madam." With that, Autumn Moon opened the door and walked out. After Autumn Moon left, Lu Ming thought for a while, but he could not figure out why. He could only put it aside for the time being. He would look up the records in the future to see if there were any similar records. After the meal, Lu Ming returned to his room and entered the Temple of Paragon again. There were still 2 more days before the clan meeting. Lu Ming planned to take the spiritual essence pill to make the final push. The Spirit Yuan pill was a level 3 elixir. It was impossible for an ordinary person to completely refine it within 2 days. All elixirs were poisonous to some extent. All elixirs would contain impurities and toxins. One would need time to slowly refine them. However, this was not a problem for Lu Ming. After swallowing the spiritual essence pill, Lu Ming started to circulate the true dragon art. A strong suction force came from his spine and absorbed the spiritual essence pill. Then, pure energy emerged. The energy whirlpool in his energy center spun quickly and absorbed the energy. Lu Ming's cultivation was increasing rapidly. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. The clan meeting of the Lu family had finally arrived. "Lu Yao, great elder, I'll give you a big surprise." Lu Ming opened his eyes from his cultivation. He could feel the surging vital energy in his body, and the corners of his lips curled into a cold smile. He left the Temple of Paragon and came to the courtyard. Why aren't Mother and Autumn Moon here?" Lu Ming looked around and realized that Li Ping and Autumn Moon were not around. It was impossible. Today was the clan meeting. Li Ping and Autumn Moon would definitely be waiting for him here. Hurry up and wash these clothes. After you're done, clean the toilet too." Just then, a shrill, duck-like cry came from the next room. Lu Ming and the rest used to live in the servants' room. Hence, the room next door was naturally where the servants lived and worked. "You're too much. It's fine if you want us to wash the clothes, but you want us to clean the toilet too? My wife is the wife of the patriarch. You're too much. I'm going to report you to the elders." At this moment, a delicate shout rang out. Boom! That shout was like a clap of thunder in Lu Ming's ears. Instantly, Lu Ming's eyes turned red and anger rushed to his chest. That shout was from Autumn Moon. The wife that Autumn Moon was referring to was Lu Ming's mother, Li Ping. These servants actually asked Li Ping and Autumn Moon to wash the clothes and even clean the toilet? Damn it. Chapter 13. At this moment, in the courtyard next to Lu Ming's, Li Ping and Chiu Autumn Moon were washing clothes. In front of them was a large pile of clothes, all of which were changed by the Lu family servants. In front of him stood a fat middle-aged man with a mustache. Behind him were 2 burly men with sturdy bodies. This fat man was the great elder's butler, Duan San. At this moment, Duan San sneered and stared at Chiu Autumn Moon and Li Ping. "Oh my! You want to sue me in the elder's courtyard? What nonsense! After today, Miss Lu Yao will take over the position of the head of the Lu family. By then you will be nothing. Let me tell you, you will have to do these chores every day, so you better practice it now. You don't even think about it. My young master will not let you succeed. Chiu Autumn was so angry that her face turned red. She pointed at Duan San and shouted, "Lu Ming, that trash! Ha ha ha! You still think that Lu Ming can save you? Stop dreaming. If it wasn't for the fact that we couldn't find him today, he would be cleaning the toilets now." Duan San let out a shrill laugh that was unpleasant to hear. His pair of small eyes emitted a lustful light as they swept over Chiu Yu's body. He said, "I didn't expect that after not seeing you for a while, you would become so beautiful. How about this? You come to my room and serve me well. As long as you serve me well, I can consider not letting you wash the toilet. Don't even think about it." Chiu Autumn's face turned pale as she subconsciously took 2 steps back. Duan San's face turned cold. "Don't even think about it? I just want to take this girl down and bring her to my room. Yes." The 2 strong men behind Duan San answered. "No, no, I beg you, Butler Duan, let Chiu Autumn go. I will do whatever you want me to do. Please let Chiu Autumn go." Li Ping stood in front of Chiu Autumn and looked at Duan San pleadingly. "Go away," the 2 strong men shouted coldly. One of them waved his hand and was about to slap Li Ping. At this moment, bang! The gate of the courtyard suddenly exploded, sending broken wood flying everywhere. The incident happened so suddenly that the 2 men also stopped. Everyone's gaze turned towards the door. A young figure strode in. "Lu Ming, it's you? You came at the right time. Now go clean the toilet." Seeing that it was Lu Ming, Duan San let out a sigh of relief, and a cold smile appeared on his face. This young man was naturally Lu Ming. Lu Ming didn't even look at Duan San. He walked over to Li Ping and asked, "Mother, are you all right?" "Mother is fine." "Ming, or why are you here? We'll take care of things here." "Leave quickly," Li Ping said anxiously. Lu Ming shook his head and said, "Mother, I'm late. From today onwards, I won't allow you to suffer such grievances." "Lu Ming, you trash. I'm talking to you. Can't you hear me?" Duan San's voice came from behind him. Lu Ming slowly turned around and stared at Duan San. His eyes were incomparably cold, like the eyes of a demon from hell. The situation at the scene caused Lu Ming to feel an intense anger. It filled his chest and could explode at any time. The blazing anger turned into a cold, killing intent. A cold sentence came from Lu Ming's mouth. "Duan San, you deserve to die." The cold gaze caused Duan San's heart to turn cold. However, when he thought that Lu Ming was just a trash, his courage increased. He revealed a sinister expression and shouted, "Lu Ming, you dare threaten me? You're courting death. Break his limbs for me." "Yes." The 2 brawny men also revealed sinister expressions and reached out to grab Lu Ming's arm. These 2 brawny men were at the peak of the middle stage of the Meridian opening realm. "Ming!" Li Ping turned pale with fright. Duan San sneered. Crack! Crack! The sound of 2 bones breaking rang out, followed by 2 mournful screams. Duan San's sneer froze, and Li Ping was stunned, because the ones who screamed were 2 brawny men. Lu Ming only grabbed the 2 brawny men's wrists, and the bones in their wrists were crushed. "Ah! Ah! My hands!" the 2 brawny men screamed. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming's true chi gushed out and surged into the bodies of the 2 burly men. The 2 burly men snorted and flew far away. They fell heavily on the ground and were no longer breathing. Their internal organs had been shattered by Lu Ming. At this moment, Duan San reacted and screamed, "Lu Ming, you've got guts. They're the Grand Elder's men. You dare to kill them? You're courting death. You're the one who's going to die." Lu Ming snorted coldly. He took a step forward and punched at Duan San. With a punch, true chi gushed out and completely enveloped Duan San. This true chi was too strong. Duan San felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. He couldn't use his strength as a martial warrior. He screamed hysterically, "No!" Bang! As soon as he said that, Lu Ming's fist landed on his stomach. Duan San screamed. His fat body was thrown out like a dead pig. He fell heavily on the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust. "Ah, Lu Ming, you destroyed my cultivation. Miss Lu Yao and the Grand Elder won't let you go." Duan San screamed in despair. "Is that so?" Lu Ming walked to the front of Duan San and stepped on his leg forcefully. Crack! Duan San's leg bones were broken. Duan San screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Tears and snot flowed down his face. Lu Ming's eyes were cold. He stared at Duan San and said, "Just now you said that you would break my limbs. Now I will break your limbs." After saying that, he stepped on Duan San's other leg, breaking his bones. "Ah, on my leg." "Lu Ming, no, young Master Ming, I beg you spare me." All of this was ordered by the Grand Elder and Lu Chuan. How could I dare to disobey their orders? Duan San screamed in pain. The Grand Elder and Lu Chuan? Lu Ming's eyes were extremely cold. Then he kicked Duan San's arms twice in a row. Then he turned around and walked towards Li Ping and Autumn Moon. "Ming, what's your cultivation?" At this time, Li Ping looked at Lu Ming with tears in her eyes. "Mother, I have had a fortuitous encounter during this period of time. I will tell you in detail later. Let's go to the martial arts practice field now." Lu Ming said. Li Ping's face changed. "Ming, go to the martial arts practice field? The Grand Elder and Lu Yao are there. Don't be rash." Although Lu Ming's cultivation had improved greatly during this period of time, could he be Lu Yao's opponent? Not only did Lu Yao awaken a 5th-grade bloodline, but she also married into the mystic essence sword sex Duanmu family. She heard that the Duanmu family had sent a lot of precious elixirs during this period of time. During this period, Lu Yao had been cultivating in seclusion. She was naturally worried about Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled confidently and said, "Mother, don't worry. Lu Yao can't take the patriarch of the Lu family away. No one can. It's father's. I will kill whoever wants to touch it. Madam, don't worry. Young Master can definitely do it." Autumn Moon also said. Chapter 14. The Lu family's martial arts field was located on the east side of the Lu family mansion. It was huge and could easily accommodate 100,000 people. In the middle of the martial arts field, there was a huge platform that was 200 meters long and wide. It was made of steel and rock. On the north, east, and west of the martial arts field, there were majestic grandstands. The north grandstand was the main seat for the Lu family members. The east and west grandstands were for the other famous families in Firestorm City. At that moment, 7 white-haired old men were seated at the top of the main seats. These 7 old men were the 7 core elders of the Lu clan's elder compound. The core elders of the Lu clan's elder council were the most senior elders, who were jointly elected by the Lu clan. In the end, the position was held by those who wholeheartedly served the Lu clan. Therefore, relatively speaking, it was the fairest position and would not be biased towards one branch. They put the Lu family's interests first. Further down the hall was the Lu clan's grand elder, Lu Yunxiong. Beside him was a 15-year-old girl in a snow-white dress. Her beauty was beyond compare. She was none other than Lu Yao. "Congratulations, Grand Elder Lu. I heard that your daughter is extremely talented and has awakened a level 5 bloodline. Her future is limitless." The Li family's patriarch, Li Fu, congratulated the Grand Elder. "You're welcome." The Grand Elder replied casually. Following that, some of Firestorm City's local families and famous figures walked over to congratulate the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder nodded casually in response. Roar! Roar! Suddenly, The roars of beasts could be heard from the street. It was as if thousands of beasts were charging at the same time. Soon, dozens of 2-meter-tall and 4-meter-long blood-red tigers appeared in front of the crowd. Sitting on top of each tiger was a figure wearing a fiery red robe. A powerful fiendish aura, as well as a scorching aura, filled the entire area. The red flaming tigers are from the White Tiger Hall, one of the 5 halls of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect. Are they from the Duanmu family? The crowd exclaimed. The White Tiger Hall sent people here. Are they here to recruit Lu Yao as their disciple? Someone guessed. The first elder stood up with a swoosh and walked down from the spectator stand. His face was filled with excitement as he cupped his fists and said, "The Mystic Essence Sword Sect's White Tiger Hall has honored guests. I apologize for not going out to meet you." "Haha, Grand Elder, you're too polite. I'm the deacon of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's White Tiger Hall, Duanmu Qing. I'm here to congratulate Lu Yao on taking charge of the Lu family and officially recruit her as a disciple of the White Tiger Hall." A red flaming tiger, a middle-aged man in red flaming tiger hall. "Emissary, you are too polite. Please take a seat." The first elder said with a beaming face. Duanmu Qing faintly smiled and brought 2 people off the scarlet flame tiger to the main seat. The others stopped the scarlet flame tiger on the side. "Looks like Lu Yao's talent is really terrifying. There's still 2 months before the Mystic Essence Sword Sect officially recruits disciples. Normally, people would take the initiative to go to the Mystic Essence Sword Sect and go through various tests. Only those who pass the tests can join the Mystic Essence Sword Sect. Isn't that so?" It's said that Lu Yao has caught the eye of a genius from the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's Duanmu clan. Her future is limitless. The Lu family has a genius. She's even more talented than Lu Yuntian. All around, everyone was discussing excitedly. Caw! At this moment, a loud bird cry rang out in the sky. It was incomparably sharp and resounded through the sky. Even from far away, it could be heard clearly. The crowd involuntarily looked in that direction. Then, their pupils involuntarily shrank. It was a gigantic goshawk. Its entire body was snow-white, and it was incomparably huge. When it spread its wings, it was at least 50 meters wide. Its claws were as sharp as knives, and its eyes were sharp. When it looked at the crowd, they felt a chill down their spines. There were a few people on the eagle's back. Snowy Night Eagle. It's the Snowy Night Eagle from the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's Vermilion Bird Hall. Someone from the Vermilion Bird Hall is here too. The crowd exclaimed. "I'm Lu Qian from the Mystic Essence Sword Sect's Vermilion Bird Hall. I'm here to represent the Vermilion Bird Hall to recruit Lu Yao as a disciple." On the snowy night, a young woman in her 30s with a graceful figure spoke up. Hiss! Suddenly, a giant flying snake flew over from afar. It was filled with a murderous aura. "Haha! Duanmu Qing, Lu Qian, the White Tiger Hall and Vermilion Bird Hall are here quickly. Tai Zhong from the Azure Dragon Hall of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect would like to recruit Miss Lu Yao as a disciple. Gao Shi from the Black Tortoise Hall of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect would like to recruit Miss Lu Yao as a disciple." Following that, another voice sounded. The empire that Lu Ming was in was called the Burning Sun Empire. The Burning Sun Empire had a vast territory. Windy Fire City was only a small city in the vast Burning Sun Empire. There were no less than 10,000 cities in the Burning Sun Empire. There were 5 major sects in the Burning Sun Empire. These 5 sects were located in the north, south, east, and west of the Burning Sun Empire. They ruled the huge Burning Sun Empire. The Mystic Essence Sword Sect occupied the eastern part of the Burning Sun Empire. Firestorm City was located in the eastern part of the Burning Sun Empire. It was under the jurisdiction of the Mystic Essence Sword Sect. The Mystic Essence Sword Sect had 5 halls. They were the Azure Dragon, White Tiger, Black Tortoise, Vermilion Bird, and Qilin. The Duanmu clan was one of the major clans of the Mystic Essence Sword sect's White Tiger Hall. Although they were from the same sect, the 5 halls would compete with each other. There was no lack of open and covert competition between the 5 halls. Therefore, when there was a genius, they would naturally want to recruit them to their respective halls. The arrival of 4 batches of people caused a commotion. Oh my God! For the 5 halls of the Mystic Essence Sword sect are here. They all want to recruit Miss Lu Yao as a disciple. This is unbelievable. Yeah, the Mystic Essence Sword sect has almost 2,000 cities. The 5 halls rarely take the initiative to recruit someone as a disciple. This time, 4 halls have appeared. Amazing, amazing. The people around them were discussing excitedly. If the White Tiger Hall had sent people to recruit Lu Yao as a disciple, it would be fine because Lu Yao had a marriage alliance with the genius of the Duanmu clan. But now, the other 3 halls had sent people to recruit Lu Yao as a disciple. This could only mean that Lu Yao's talent was too good. It had alarmed the other halls. The fact that the 4 halls of the Mystic Essence Sword sect wanted to recruit Lu Yao as a disciple made her shine even brighter. Emissaries, please take a seat. The first elder quickly invited the 3 halls to take a seat. He was smiling so widely that he could not close his mouth. He was truly overjoyed. He had expected the White Tiger Hall to come, but he had not expected the other 3 halls to come. Unknowingly, this had given him even more face. Yao, this is all because of you. The first elder clenched his fists and muttered to himself. He knew that the 4 halls had sent people here because of Lu Yao, his daughter. At this moment, he sighed. His 3 years of hard work had not been in vain. It was all worth it. Vermilion Bird Hall, Azure Dragon Hall, Black Tortoise Hall, what are you doing here? Lu Yao is from my White Tiger Hall. You want to recruit her? Duanmu Qing looked at the emissaries of the other 3 halls with an ugly expression. Haha, Duanmu Qing. I know that Lu Yao and Duanmu Lin of your White Tiger Hall have a marriage alliance. Even so, Miss Lu Yao doesn't have to choose the White Tiger Hall. She belongs to the Mystic Essence Sword sect. It's the same if she chooses the other halls. It's just a matter of whether she's suitable or not. Tai Zhong of the Azure Dragon Hall laughed. Humph, I think you're going to make a wasted trip this time. Duanmu Qing snorted coldly. The first elder was even more excited. The Lu family gathering had not started yet, and the 4 halls were already trying to recruit Lu Yao. This made his face red with excitement. At this moment, a fragrant wind blew over. A graceful figure walked over and instantly attracted everyone's attention. Hall Master Mu, I didn't expect you to come too. Please take a seat. The first elder quickly welcomed her. The person who came was the Hall Master of the Spiritual Medicine Hall, Mulin's. The Mystic Essence Sword sect was behind the Spiritual Medicine Hall. The first elder naturally did not dare to be disrespectful. Marshal Aunt Mu, you're here too. Lu Qian of the Vermilion Bird courtyard hurriedly stepped forward and saluted. This made many people surprised. One after another, they guessed that Mulan's status in the Vermilion Bird courtyard was not ordinary. Lu Qian was more than 30 years old, yet she still called Mulan Marshal uncle. Yes, I'm here to watch the show. Mulin smiled and sat down beside Lu Qian. Why is she here? The people of the other 3 halls were shocked. Chapter 15. At this moment, a middle-aged man in his 40s walked up to the platform in the middle of the arena. He was the head of the 2nd branch of the Lu clan, and also the 2nd elder of the Lu clan, Lu Yunfeng. It's our great honor to have the Mystic Essence Sword sect's emissaries here for today's clan meeting. Lu Yunfeng started off with a series of pleasantries. Then he changed the topic and said, therefore the young disciples of the Lu clan must perform well today. Show me what you've got. Who knows? Maybe you'll be recommended into the Mystic Essence Sword sect. As soon as Lu Yunfeng finished speaking, the young disciples of the Lu clan started to breathe heavily. They rubbed their palms together and were ready to fight. Normally, the Mystic Essence Sword sect would only start recruiting disciples 2 months later. However, at that time, the geniuses from almost 2,000 cities in the east of the Sun Empire would compete together. The chances of success were too low. However, if they were chosen by the emissaries and were recommended to join the Mystic Essence Sword sect, they would definitely soar. On the main seat, the emissary smiled and did not refute. This made the eyes of the young disciples of the Lu clan even brighter. Seeing that he had achieved his goal, Lu Yunfeng's face lit up. He started to announce, "All right, the clan meeting will now officially begin. This time, the clan meeting will be divided into 3 steps. The first step is to test your perseverance. The second step is to check your pulse. And the third step is to compete." As everyone knows, the path of martial arts is filled with hardships and tribulations. So without a strong willpower, it's impossible to walk far. Now, all of you who want to participate in the clan meeting, come up and take the first step, climb the stairway of flames. As soon as he finished speaking, the young disciples of the Lu clan all walked up to the platform. These were the young disciples of the Lu clan. There were both males and females, but none of them were over 18 years old. At this moment, Lu Yao stood up on the main platform. Instantly, everyone's eyes were on her. Lu Yao was wearing a long white dress. Her body was slim, and her skin was as white as jade. Coupled with her beautiful face, she was like a fairy that had walked out of a painting. Some busybodies once called Lu Yao the #1 beauty of Firestorm City. It was not an exaggeration. She walked gracefully towards the main stage, towards the middle of the martial arts practice field. Peerless beauty, many people exclaimed. Not only was Lu Yao's beauty outstanding, her talent was also unparalleled. I heard that before Lu Yao awakened her bloodline, she had already opened 9 meridians. After awakening her 5th rank bloodline, she immediately opened a divine meridian. Now, she's even more unfathomable. If I could marry such a heavenly genius, I would have no regrets in my life. I heard that Lu Yao has already married the peerless genius of the White Tiger Halls, Duanmu clan, Duanmu Lin. Perhaps only a genius like Duanmu Lin is worthy of Lu Yao. I heard that Lu Ming and Lu Yao from the main bloodline of the Lu family were very close. I thought they were a couple. How can that trash be worthy of Miss Lu Yao? That's like a fresh flower stuck in a pile of cow dung. Fortunately, they didn't end up together. Otherwise, the heavens would be too unfair. Many people were discussing. In the crowd, Lu Ming heard this and smiled faintly. He would shut these people up soon. After a while, Lu Yao stepped onto the battle stage. Just by standing there casually, the other disciples of the Lu clan beside her paled in comparison. On the main stage, the envoys of the 4 great academies all looked at Lu Yao. After all, they were all here for Lu Yao. At this moment, more than 30 young men and women from the 7 bloodlines of the Lu clan had already stepped onto the battle stage. "Is there anyone else?" the second elder asked loudly. At this moment, a figure walked out from the crowd and walked towards the battle stage, step by step. Lu Ming? Seeing this figure, many people were stunned. Isn't that the trash from the main bloodline of the Lu clan, Lu Ming? Why? Is he also participating in the Lu clan meeting's test? Many people were surprised. On the main seat, the first elder's eyes turned cold. He didn't expect Lu Ming to really dare to come. The 7 core elders of the Lu clan sitting at the top were also curious and surprised. Ming. In the crowd, Li Ping and Qiu Moon held hands tightly. In the battle stage, Lu Yao looked at Lu Ming and frowned. "Lu Ming, why are you here? You shouldn't be here. Get down." Lu Ming didn't say anything. He just looked at Lu Yao. This was the first time Lu Ming saw Lu Yao after his bloodline was taken away. However, the woman in front of him, who used to be deeply in love with him, could no longer make him feel the slightest bit of warmth. There was only coldness in his eyes. Seeing Lu Ming's expression, Lu Yao shook her head and said, "Lu Ming, I know that as the successor of the main bloodline, you feel indignant that I have to inherit the position of the family head. However, you should be clear of your own qualifications. The position of the family head belongs to the capable. You and I are too far apart. There is an insurmountable gap between us. You and I are destined to be from different worlds. My world has just begun. You are destined to be mediocre. Everything about you is over. Is that so?" "You are really confident. However, you are right about one thing. We are indeed from different worlds." Lu Ming smiled faintly. Then he stood aside and ignored Lu Yao. He didn't come here to waste his breath. He came here today to speak with his actions. "Lu Ming." On the main stage, the great elder shouted coldly. Lu Ming turned around and looked at the great elder. He wanted to see what this old man had to say. "Lu Ming, you were born weak and sickly. You can't condense your true energy. Yao Er is kind. She accompanied you every day because you are the successor of the main bloodline. She encouraged you and wanted you to be motivated. If you could awaken your father's bloodline, you could also inherit the patriarch position. Unfortunately, you can't even awaken your bloodline. Naturally, you can't inherit the patriarch position. Yao Er just awakened her 5th grade bloodline. She also received the favor of the Duanmu clan's genius, who wants to marry her. Yet you harbor hatred in your heart. Not only do you not care about Yao Er's kindness to you, you also have improper thoughts about her. You even want to destroy the marriage between Yao Er and the Duanmu clan. You are simply despicable. Fine. Since you are the successor of the main bloodline and Brother Yuntian's only son, I can let bygones be bygones. Now get down." The great elder said indifferently, "What? This Lu Ming is actually so despicable. Miss Lu Yao accompanied him for several years in order to take care of him. How could he be so deranged as to bite the hand that feeds him? Despicable. No wonder this trash is trash." When the surrounding people heard the great elder's words, they all glared at Lu Ming. "Lu Yunxiong, don't talk nonsense." In the crowd, Li Ping was trembling with anger. She pointed at the great elder and shouted, "Mother, there is no need to fight with such a person." Lu Ming said to Li Ping, "The great elder was simply despicable. Obviously, they were the ones who were despicable and shameless. They had schemed against Lu Ming for 3 years and seized his bloodline. But now they were twisting the truth and slandering Lu Ming for having ill intentions toward Lu Yao. They even said that he wanted to destroy the marriage alliance between Lu Yao and the Duanmu family. Lu Ming was too lazy to say anything to such a person. The truth would be revealed soon. How could there be such a person? This is simply despicable. Such a trash who can't even awaken his bloodline. What's the point of letting him stay on the stage? Get off the stage." Duanmu Qing harumphed coldly. "Who do you think you are? What does the Lu clan's meeting have to do with you?" Lu Ming gave Duanmu Qing a sideways glance, not giving him any face. "How dare you? Do you know who I am?" Duanmu Qing was enraged. He stood up with cold killing intent. "Lu Ming, you trash! How dare you offend the Mystic Essence Sword Sex, White Tiger Clan's envoy?" The great elder also pointed at Lu Ming and shouted, "What does it have to do with me? Lu Yunxiong, today is the Lu clan's meeting. Are you trying to help an outsider against me, the successor of the Lu clan's main bloodline? Do you think the core elders are just decorations?" Lu Ming gave Duanmu Qing and the great elder a sideways glance. His words were clear and loud. The surrounding people were dumbfounded. Lu Ming was too bold. How dare he offend the Mystic Essence Sword Sex envoy? You The great elder's face turned red. Yunxiong Duanmu Qing. Since Lu Ming is young and ignorant, let's forget about this matter. As expected, one of the core elders of the Lu clan spoke. They would not side with anyone and would only protect the interests of the Lu clan. They would even protect the interests of the main bloodline. Otherwise, they would not have spent so much resources to help Lu Ming awaken his bloodline. That's right, Duanmu Qing. Why are you arguing with a junior? Don't you think it's embarrassing? Mulins glanced at Duanmu Qing and said indifferently, "Humph." Duanmu Qing harumphed coldly. However, he seemed to be afraid of Mulins. He did not say anything and sat down with an ugly expression. The great elder also sat down with a pale face. "Lu Ming, let's see how you will die when Yao takes over the Lu clan." The great elder's eyes were gloomy. All right, the Lu clan did not say that those who have not awakened their bloodline cannot participate in the meeting. Lu Ming can participate. Let's begin. Chapter 16. All right, let's begin the test of perseverance, Lu Yunfeng announced. On the left side of the platform, there was a staircase made of jade. There were a total of 9 steps, and that was the staircase of flames. The Lu family had spent a large sum of money to hire an inscription master to refine it. There were strange inscriptions carved on it, and it was very mysterious. As long as one walked up, the inscriptions on the staircase would be activated and emit a scorching aura that enveloped the person who walked up. When one was on the staircase, it was as if one was in flames and had to endure the pain and torture of being burned by the flames. Even though it was not real flames, it was no different from being in real flames. Moreover, each of the 9 staircases was hotter than the last. The test this time was to see who could spend the longest time at the top of the stairs and who could climb the highest step. The higher the staircase, the longer the duration, the stronger the willpower. I'll go first. A disciple of the Lu family who was about 16 years old was the first to walk up the staircase of flames. When he stepped on the staircase, the entire staircase of flames immediately shone brightly. It flickered with a fiery red light. The young man's expression changed drastically, and he seemed to be in pain. However, he gritted his teeth and took another step onto the second staircase. Then he stepped onto the third. When he reached there, he stopped and began to resist the pain of being burned by the flames. However, in just 10 breaths, his body began to tremble and his face turned pale. His expression was ferocious. It was obvious that he was in great pain. After another 10 breaths of time, he let out a loud cry. He could no longer resist and jumped down the stairway of flames. Lu Li, 3rd staircase, 20 breaths. Lu Yunfeng announced. Following that, the disciples of the Lu family went up one by one to take the test. However, most of them were on the 3rd and 4th staircases. They only lasted for about 20 to 30 breaths. Let me try. Lu Chuan walked out and glanced at Lu Ming. He sneered and stepped onto the staircase. He was very fast and did not stop at all. He directly stepped onto the 5th staircase. Then he stopped on the 5th staircase and stayed there for a total of 52 breaths. That made everyone exclaim in surprise. As expected of Lu Yao's brother. Her talent is unparalleled, and her brother is not bad either. He can actually stay on the 5th staircase for 52 breaths. Duanmu Qing praised. Haha, you flatter me, emissary Duanmu. The grand elder laughed loudly. Lu Chuan smiled smugly. Afterward, the test continued. Quite a few people had pretty good willpower, and 2 of them were not weaker than Lu Chuan. One of them stayed on the 5th step for 52 breaths, while the other stayed on the 5th step for 55 breaths. However, no one dared to step onto the 6th step. Soon, only Lu Yao and Lu Ming were left on the platform. Lu Yao glanced at Lu Ming and walked towards the stairway of flames. At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Lu Yao. Lu Yao had too many halos around her. Everyone wanted to see how strong her willpower was. Even if one's talent was high, one's willpower might not be strong. Lu Yao lifted her foot and stepped onto the first step. Then, she stepped onto the second step. One step after another, he did not stop at all. In one breath, he reached the sixth step. The sixth step. He had already surpassed all the previous people. Everyone held their breaths and watched seriously. However, Lu Yao did not stop. She took another step and stepped onto the seventh step. Lu Yao actually managed to reach the seventh step. How amazing! Let's see how long she can last. Everyone guessed, but soon they got the answer. 86 breaths. Lu Yao stayed on the seventh step for a full 86 breaths of time before she jumped down. Amazing, really amazing. I didn't expect Lu Yao to not only be talented, but also have such strong willpower. She's really a genius. Isn't that so? That's the seventh step. The previous steps can't be compared to it. Everyone was talking about it. Lu Yao looked calm, as if she had done something insignificant. She turned around and walked to the side. When she walked past Lu Ming, there was contempt in her eyes. Did you see that? That's the difference between you and me. Her soft voice echoed in Lu Ming's ears. Is that so? You have to remember this. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile as he walked toward the stairs of flames. You're overestimating yourself. The Grand Elder sneered. How many steps do you think Lu Ming can reach? On the platform, Lu Chuan smiled and asked the other young people. In my opinion, he can reach the second step at most. I don't think he can last more than 10 breaths on the second step. The other young people laughed. However, as soon as they finished speaking, the smiles on their faces froze, and they couldn't help but widen their eyes. At that moment, Lu Ming had already reached the third step. However, he didn't seem to have any intention of stopping. He continued on to the fourth step. Then it was the fifth step, the sixth step. When Lu Ming reached the seventh step, he still didn't stop. He took another step and reached the eighth step. However, that wasn't the end of Lu Ming's journey. At that moment, he lifted his foot and took another step. Everyone's hearts seemed to be in suspense when Lu Ming took that step. Then, they fell heavily when Lu Ming stepped on the ninth step. Then, there was a violent uproar. God! Lu Ming actually stepped on the ninth step. Is there a mistake? So what if he steps on it? Whether he can hold on or not is the most important thing. If he can't hold on and comes down in less than a breath, that'll be embarrassing. The Grand Elder said coldly he's overestimating himself. It'll be fun if he can't bear the pain and his mind collapses. He'll become an idiot. Ming-er. Young master. Below the platform, Li Ping and Qiu Autumn Moon clenched their fists. They were sweating and their eyes were filled with worry. However, slowly, the discussion on the platform became softer. That was because 10 breaths had passed. Lu Ming actually stood on the ninth step for 10 breaths and didn't come down. Obviously, 10 breaths was just the beginning. Time passed slowly. 20 breaths. 30 breaths. Soon, more than 100 breaths had passed. However, Lu Ming was still on the platform. He was tall and slender, standing on the ninth step like a sharp sword. The entire place was silent. I think his mind has collapsed. Could he have died on the platform? The Grand Elder said coldly. However, at that moment, Lu Ming smiled and said, Lu Yao, you're right. This is the difference between you and me. His words were like a slap to the Grand Elder's face. It was also a slap to Lu Yao's face. Lu Yao was the one who said this to Lu Ming earlier. Now, Lu Ming returned the words to her with the truth. Lu Yao looked at Lu Ming on the fiery steps, and her eyes flickered. However, she soon calmed down and said, Lu Ming, you've been a piece of trash your whole life and have been looked down upon by others. However, you've trained your mind well and you're quite resilient. However, on the path of martial arts, willpower is only the foundation. Talent is the most important. Now, I'll show you the true difference between us." Everyone was enlightened after hearing those words. It made sense. Lu Ming was a piece of trash and had been mocked for years. It was normal for him to have a firm mind. "I see," Duan Muqing sneered. "Is that really the case?" A strange smile appeared on Mulin's face. She was looking forward to seeing the expressions of Duan Muqing and the Grand Elder when they saw Lu Ming's performance. On the stairs, Lu Ming's gaze was calm. He smiled faintly and walked down the fiery steps as if he was taking a stroll. "All right, the first round is over. Let's begin the second round. Take your pulse and bring them up to the altar," the second elder announced. "You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.